Hi, everybody, and happy 2022. Oh my gosh, I almost immediately got the year wrong. We're so glad to see you guys again, to have you back. I'm here. We've got Kat back in the studio. And Kat, what are we doing today? This is kind of your thing. What are we doing?
Painting Conquest.
Conquest.
Finally.
Finally.
Awesome. After years of trying to convince you to paint Conquest, even though it's only been out for a year.
Yeah.
It's been years. No, I'm excited because Conquest is my jam right now.
Your jam right now.
I like it. I like it a lot.
I am painting. This world is new to me.
Okay.
I've not played this game. This is my first Conquest Mini. The scale is a little different, right?
It's a little larger.
A little larger. I kind of like that.
Yeah, what you're used to. Yeah. No, I like it too.
So you're going to talk to me about what it is I'm painting, and what it is you're painting.
Yeah.
And all things Conquest. You've been playing. You know the rules. We've never played here in Titan Studio.
Yet.
Yeah, we haven't played yet. So we are excited to see what comes of this and to paint some Conquest. I don't even know. I'm so weirded out by this whole new world.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited. Okay,
good.
Folks, we're going to get into it. Here we go. Okay, we decided not to have the glam cam spinning. So we are here, we are live, we're still here. If you're wondering why it's not spinning, we thought it looked silly. And we'll show you what we mean. Kat, talk to me though, while we watch this spin around a little bit.
Yeah.
Talk to me about what I'm painting and what you're painting.
So yeah, you're going to be painting the Herald of Fire. I mean, it's fine. You're going to be painting the Herald of Fire for the Dwegum, or the Dwegholm, depends on how you want to pronounce it. And I am painting who's going to be my banner bearer for my regiment of Braves for the Wadroon. Okay.
Now, for what it's worth, if you were going to describe these two factions to a normal fantasy nerd, how would you? What's going on here?
I mean, so it's very obvious.
Yeah.
When you get down to it, the Dwegholm would be your typical fantasy like dwarves, and the Wadroon are your typical fantasy orcs.
Yeah.
In looks only.
In looks only. Okay.
Yeah. I think that because the scale is much larger in Conquest, you'll find that the dwarves are a lot bigger than what you would typically think.
I was noticing this.
Yeah. They are shorter than the humans and the other races and stuff, but they're pretty big and they're pretty stocky. But yeah, I think both of these races in the lore of Ea, which is the world that Conquest is based on, were created. They weren't like naturally brought into the world. The Dwegholm were created by the dragons of the world. Okay. And the Wadroon were created by this alien race called the Spires.
Okay. Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Which are a playable faction in the game as well, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, it's interesting. The current world of Conquest right now and Ea, the Dwegholm are no longer slaves to the dragons. They have overthrown their masters and have actually enslaved them themselves.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it gets very complicated when it comes down to it. But many like years ago, when the Spires first came to Ea, they actually were, I believe, at war with the dragons, who initially didn't want them there, or kind of had no idea like what they were doing. But they came to kind of a understanding as these kind of like higher beings of intelligence, and the Spires ended up giving the dragons the ability of biomancy, which is how the dragons were able to make these guys. Yes.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I'm excited to get into this. So this guy is called a Herald of Fire. He's a character. I have a lot on my painting agenda for this year, and we're both going to talk about that, what we have planned for ourselves, what we want to do in this year, what we want to paint. and I hope to get to a conquest army. And I decided that I would lean into these guys. I asked you. I said, what army should I play? Because I was kind of looking at the world, and I was saying there's a couple that don't appeal to me.
Yep.
And right now there's only really 5 factions out. Is that right?
Currently, yeah.
Two or 3 of them are like just versions of humans. Do I have that right?
So the Nords and Hundred Kingdoms are both humans.
Mostly human. The Nords have like giants kind of and stuff.
Yeah.
They're almost like if you think Game of Thrones, like
they're Vikings.
And they're kind of the wildlings with like the occasional giant, and the giants are so cool looking actually.
The Jotnar, they're pretty awesome.
But that army's, it was funny because I was realizing as I was asking you, kind of instinctually, I was looking at the different factions. They said actually the spires, which are in this world, they've almost kind of combined, in a way, aesthetically, like they've almost sort of combined the elves and the undead into this one faction.
Yeah.
It's sort of what the aesthetic, I think, is.
Yeah, and the spires would be what you would consider the elves in typical fantasy lore. Because it's also like most of the time the elves are like this advanced civilization.
Right.
They think that, the other civilizations usually are beneath them. They're lower than them in intelligence and advancement and in technology and stuff.
Classic elf stuff. Yeah.
Which is exactly what the Spire are. They are a alien race that came from a different planet, and essentially what it started off as was sort of kind of like a Star Trek type deal where they sent out
a Star Trek type deal.
Where they sent out explorers to explore the space and different planets and stuff, and to observe and not to really do anything crazy.
Okay.
And then what ended up happening was they had all these portals that would lead back to their home planet. And something happened, something mysterious happened on their home planet. They haven't gone into what exactly, which I think is really great.
Yeah,
kind
of nicer when they do that, right? Yeah.
Because it leaves room for them to then explore that area when they get to it.
Right. Or not get to it, right?
Right, exactly. And you can always speculate as much as you want. But something happened on their home planet where all of a sudden, just droves upon droves of the Spire were coming through the portal. And they were fleeing something. So
there were some already here.
Yeah.
And then others start showing up.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. They were fleeing something, some sort of unknown thing.
Okay.
They don't really want to talk about it, like the Spire who remember don't really want to talk about it. But I'm sure they'll get to it at some point. And essentially, the way that the Spire hierarchy works is that it's got a very rigid hierarchy, and it's very set in stone. It's very much like this is what it is. If someone is above you, you listen to them. There's no question or anything like that. I wish I remembered who it was, but essentially one of the hierarchy guys came through the portal and destroyed the portal behind them.
So they're stuck.
Exactly. But this person wasn't the highest person on the chain of command. And they were trying to say you don't want to see what's back there. You guys don't know. I did this to save you guys from whatever was coming through, or whatever was back there from potentially coming through. So we're safe, we're good. Now this is our planet. Let's build an army now, so then we can just go back and destroy whatever it was.
Got it. And that's kind of what they're up. That's their agenda. Currently.
Yeah, to really make it simple. Yeah, definitely. Okay. There are parts of the Spire that don't see it that way. They see it as this person is just a power hungry person. They essentially manipulated it so that they were the top dog.
Got it.
And so,
but this is all, some of it's ambiguous as to what their true story is. Got it.
Because a lot of their lore is told through stories told by other things. It's not really a written history of exactly what happened, because most of the stuff is somewhat recent in like the gist of things.
Got it.
But essentially now the Spire are stuck on Aya and they can't go back to their home planet.
Okay, that's kind of cool. So I will say, we'll hop in here and do a super chat real quick. But I did want to talk a little bit about kind of why I picked dwarves, and I want to know why you picked, the
Wadroon, the orcs.
Wadroon, yeah. Real quick though, we do have some super chats. Always appreciative of these. Thank you guys for supporting the show with these. Thank you, Steady Break. He asks, welcome back, guys. Well, he says welcome back, guys. It's not really a question. But he does ask, recently bought some sprays, but it's a different color to the base paint equivalent. Am I doing something wrong? And specifically, he's asking here about Mechanicus Standard Gray. Now, Kat and I were looking at this question beforehand, and at first, I was like, I haven't had this problem. But Steady Break, I'm not sure if you're here or not with us right now. I thought you were talking about like matching a Citadel Air to a Citadel base.
And I thought it was a rattle can.
And you thought it was a rattle can.
So I guess we can just answer it both ways.
Right. Both ways for both people.
Yeah.
I have an answer. I have two answers. Okay. And Kat probably does too. Kat, what have your experiences with this been? We're talking, so everyone also knows, we're talking here, of course, about really like just the Citadel line in general, right? This is all Citadel paint. So what's your experience been with this?
My experience has been like I've never really had at least that big of a color discrepancy between what would be the same name of a rattle can versus, the base paint and stuff. Okay. But a lot of factors can go into it when you're using a rattle can. And if something goes wrong, a lot of the times it's usually the humidity that is affecting a lot of things. If it's really humid and it's really cold, when it's drying, it can tend to form almost like this like frosty underlayer to it. And it can start to look really off in color, especially compared to like other things that you've sprayed with even that same exact rattle can before.
Okay.
Sometimes you get unlucky and it's just a bad batch of paint. But yeah, most of the time, if you're really having that big of an issue, you can always take it back to the store that you bought it from. If you bought it from a store, and
if you bought it from your local game castle.
Yeah, usually, yes. But I mean, most local hobby stores will do this as well too.
Okay.
And just to see if they can troubleshoot it for you. If it's really, really, really off, then maybe the paint was labeled wrong or something. But because that can happen. We've gotten in cans of like what was supposed to be matte varnish and it's gloss varnish, and
nice.
It's stuff like that happens. But
yeah,
a lot of times it's usually the humidity, and you're not always going to get an exact color match when it comes to rattle cans versus paint pots.
Yeah.
It'll be close enough, but it's not going to be exactly 100% comparable to switching them out and stuff.
Got it. So my experience, I will say, Break, was that what I have noticed when I thought you were talking about airbrush paint, I have not had that problem, and I actually like that about the Citadel line. I like that they have, in some cases, some colors in 3 different consistencies, basically, but mostly at least or many of them in 2. Some of them only in 1. But so I haven't had that problem with airbrush paint, if that is what you're asking about. And I would know Mechanicus Standard Gray we use all the time. Here's some right here, actually, as a matter of fact. So if this is a color I use constantly. I've never used the Mechanicus Standard Gray spray. I have, however, used the Mephiston Red spray, and I will say that it is different in color than Mephiston Red Air or Lair.
It's usually darker.
That's correct. Yeah, it's darker. So what I would say is, it's in that case for me, from my perspective, it's not you. That is the case. If you're talking about rattle cans, I've noticed that as well. I did an army. My Thousand Sons Horus Heresy army is done with a rattle can. It was before I really airbrushed, and I wanted to just like put the whole base coat down with a rattle can. And then I kind of found out later that I didn't have the option really to use
correct it a little
unfortunately,
bit.
it was noticeable to me. So no, it is not just you. But good question.
Yeah. Usually I find that like when you're spraying on a color, you can't, like from a rattle can, it's very rare to get that exact, like, oh, I missed this one part, so I'm just gonna like plop it in here with the paint pot. So if that's what you're talking about, then, you know, and you're trying to get like an exact color match, I don't think you're doing anything wrong. If it's really off completely, I would definitely take a look at the conditions that you're spraying it in. With both airbrush and rattle can, this can factor in, but you know, it just kind of depends on what you mean, really.
Well, Kat, I do have some news for you. We have Seth hanging out with us in the studio today, who we will get on the show at some point soon here. And Seth gave me a true professional airbrush cleaning of my Sotar. I left for break with a little bit of paint in it, and then Megan was using it, and you know, I've been telling people this story where, you know, you have an experience with your tool, and you know when your tool's not working well, but then you know somebody else is using it, they don't know, right? So she was using it, and it was not working quite right. So it when you clog the nozzle of a Sotar, it's kind of bad news. You had told me to soak it in alcohol, which I did not do.
Yeah. I
did soak it in thinner and cleaner, but Seth came in today and is actually working like a dream. I'm into it.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, that's great, because last time I was actually on the show with you, we were painting your Wraith Knight?
Yes,
Lord
yeah.
Thing?
Yeah, Wraith thing, right? That's right.
The red thing.
The red thing, red Wraith thing, yeah.
I, you know, got lazy, and I
tell
my airbrush
this is a hot take from in my world, which only I live in. This is a very hot take. Kat actually has a now most hated paint, or one of your most hated paints, which is right. Well,
it was your Minotaur white.
Which I love.
Yeah,
one of my
I don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
Yeah.
It made my airbrush very sad. It does not want to dissolve like a normal paint should.
No,
there's something wrong with it.
There's something up with it.
That's
what makes it great, though.
I was very angry. I was not to the point where I was blaming you, but I was remembering who I got the paint from.
But I was kind of at that point.
And I was having flashbacks of, you know, pouring the stuff into my airbrush, and just a lot of regret just came out of that. So,
and I was actually saying to Kat right before the show that, like, it does get on the outside of my brush, and it does stick there more than other paints. There's like something up with it. You're right. There is something. Yeah. Like I can do a fairly, like, you know, you get stuff on the outside of your brush of like on the pot around here, and I can do a fairly thorough cleaning. The two things that stay even after the cleaning, well, actually here's some black, and I think this is primer. That's one of them. The other one is the white, is the Minotaur white. There is a third one too, which is sometimes if I'm spraying Citadel washes through my brush. I think that's, I don't know why, but sometimes they'll stick on around
Yeah,
too.
to me, notoriously the thing that I'm like hyper paranoid about with like really cleaning out my airbrush, and I will soak it no matter what, is when I spray varnish through it. Because I've had times where I've like varnished something and I thought I cleaned my airbrush out really well.
Okay.
And then I go to use it again and my needle won't move, and then I start to panic and I'm like, no, it's okay. I just I just need to put it down. I need to soak it, and then I'll come back to it in an hour or so.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have been painting. Normally we're like, hey, what are we up to? What are we doing? We haven't done that yet. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
What are you up to?
Right now I am getting some good layers in on his sword here. To me, because he also has a little knife on his belt as well too, which is very obviously carved
little zoom here. There
stone.
you go,
They don't have a ton of access to metals with the way that the Wadroon live. They're a very tribal race.
Okay.
And so, to me, his sword is chiseled stone or some sort of hard stone. And so I'm putting in some good stone color layers and stuff. I'm not painting it metallic.
Oh, I'm totally going. I'm assuming that this guy has metal on him.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, yeah. I mean, very, very similar to normal fantasy dwarves and stuff. The dwarves of,
super into just
Aya
okay.
were a mining race because the dragons of Aya were obsessed with jewels and gold and everything, you know, typical dragon stuff.
Typical dragon stuff.
And they created a whole race to mine out the underneath of Aya for them and collect these precious metals. And they got to a point where, let's go into the lore of your dudes here. The dragons saw kind of what went wrong with the Nords, because the Nords were the Spire's first experiment with creating their own army, and they took an already existing tribe of humans and then started altering them. And the way that the Nords are in Aya is the Spire are their gods. They are Odin. They are Freya. They are...
Oh, I see. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the Spire have these towers that they collect biomatter in, which they harvest from the world, and they use that with their biomancy and their experiments and stuff.
Wow,
and
so they're like, oh my god, they're like, it's like in 40K equivalent, it's like the Necrons, the Tyranids, and the Eldar are all rolled into one crazy... Are they like the official bad guys, the Spire? Or like, would you say there's like a bad guy vibe, or is it kind of not so? No. Am I...
They're very self-centered. They don't really care about anything except for themselves.
Okay.
So and they do, you know, they're kind of like jerks, I guess. I don't know if they're necessarily evil. They don't do this. They don't like experiment for like just ways of torturing the race. They're doing it for science and discovery and stuff. So they're kind of like,
oh, that's okay then.
A lawful evil in a way, right?
Okay.
Like it's not like they're bad, but yeah. So they experimented with the Nords and kind of saw what went wrong there, and the dragons then used that kind of information to then create the Dwagholm, which they gave the Dwagholm a shared memory with a capital M.
Okay.
Where every Dwagholm born has the memory of every other Dwagholm ever born before it.
Super cool.
And so they don't have to be trained on how to do anything, like any of their metalworking or mining or anything
that's
like that.
cool.
Yeah. The only thing is, though, super great, super rad,
Kind of
awesome.
like a cat using a litter box.
Kind of. Except they remember every good thing, right?
But they remember bad.
They remember every single bad thing, and eventually the bad tends to outweigh the good. And you can kind of think of the dragons almost as kind of like just really bad like management.
Yeah, it sounds a little bit like a bad MLM, which I'm into.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I'm into this.
And so
You had
eventually,
me at MLM. I don't think you actually said that this is the MLM race, but
they probably they started out that way.
They
right?
started
Yes.
out as a bad multi-level marketing scheme with dragons at the top of the pyramid. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm into it.
And so, and then eventually it kind of built up enough to the point where that memory with a capital M kind of came back to not be so beneficial for the dragons. Because they remembered every single bad thing that ever happened to them.
It's pretty much the story actually of like Lou Lavro, almost exactly. Okay.
Okay, yeah. I don't know what that is. Is that an MLM?
Yeah, it was like the one with like selling the like leggings and stuff. There's a documentary. I'll point you.
Okay.
If you want a good rage, afternoon of rage.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's how I love spending my afternoons. It's just mad.
Just mad, yeah.
So yeah, they eventually rebelled, but they got to the point where like it also became a thing where the dragons were dragons. They were super strong, and like even if the Dwagholm wanted out from underneath them, they couldn't actually do anything. The dragons, there's also magic on Aya as well too, and the dragons are essentially like magic made physical, so they're very, very, very powerful. The other thing with the dragons that kind of, this is their character flaw, because they're not just perfect. There's the high dragons, and then every other dragon born after them eventually became dumber and dumber and dumber because they stopped having to do things for themselves, essentially. I think that's what it was.
Okay.
And so they became lazy, and it actually came back to...
Then meanwhile, these guys are trying to get better.
Yeah. And so they kept digging further into the mountains. They eventually came across the prison of the god of war, essentially. So like war made physical. There are these like primordial deities on Aya as well too. With the way that magic works,
that predate like the Spire guys.
That predate like the world, essentially.
Okay.
Yeah. It'd be like these are the gods that created the world and stuff, and they've now ceased to play as big of a part in the world as they did before. But they're still there. They're just kind of dormant and or imprisoned, like war was.
Got it.
And so the dwarves found war, and the reverberation, the magical reverberation of them breaking his seal, sent a shockwave through the world to the point where it actually ended up killing off a lot of the high dragons. And so the only things that are left of the dragons are these kind of like lower intelligence beings and stuff.
So the dragons currently around are not as kind of like...
Yeah, they are enslaved by the Dwagholm now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so War, as a thanks for freeing him, gave the Dwagholm the power to kind of overthrow their masters, essentially.
Now this guy, I'm kind of looking at this guy. I'll put him back here on the glam cam in a second. We're gonna zoom in on what you're up to. These guys actually look like they have almost like a little bit of some of the metal pieces and stuff are like in their skin.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Like it's not just that they are wearing armor, but that it's like embedded in them. Do I have that right?
Yeah, so they have what's called, I think it's like metal shaping or whatever, where they essentially have the magical ability to be able to form metal into either armor pieces or into their own bodies. They have the power over that, essentially. So they can manipulate it. There is actually a character for the Dwagholm called the Steel Shaper, and he is essentially half metal, half dude. And so that's pretty cool. And they do have, because they are beings created by beings of Aya, they do have magical abilities as well too. That's another thing, is that the Spire, because they're not from Aya, can't use magic.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so they can use biomancy.
They have like their own kind of magic.
Yeah, they have biomancy and ferromancy and stuff like that, but that's all really heavily based around science stuff.
Okay.
Actual magical things like fireballs and spells and stuff. That's all very much, if you are a being of Aya, you can tap into that power.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of probably instinctively I sort of thought that maybe I would like the Spire, and like I said, I was thinking, look, I think at some point in my life, probably in the next chunk of year or two, I'll paint more for this, and we'll, especially if there's people around playing. We know you're playing, which is always a plus to know that you'll have people to play with. And I was kind of thinking, the spires seem pretty cool, but then like I realized that you were kind of telling me that that's like what everyone's playing.
The spires are kind of
they seem very popular.
Yeah, they're pretty strong. Just rules wise, they're pretty good because they have a pretty good ability where they can, because the way that healing works in the game is you bring units back essentially.
Okay.
Because the way they all have very low wound counters, and so the way that you kind of track that is if an attack does enough damage to like kill a dude or like completely undo like one entire wound counter or one unit, you just remove them from the board. But if you heal the regiment is what you do, and so the regiment itself, if you then heal enough of that regiment to then add enough wounds to that pool to bring another dude back, you bring another dude back. And that's a lot of what the Ferromancy is with the Spire. They're very much, if anyone's ever played Magic, they would be the black color. They're all about like sacrifice and bringing stuff back.
Got it. Interesting. So yeah, I as a Sigmar player, I don't play a dwarf faction. There's really two kind of dwarf factions in Sigmar, and I like dwarves a lot, typically in fantasy settings. But in Sigmar, the two dwarf factions are both kind of funky, which is cool in its own way because they're not very traditional. One is the very very shooty. They're like the steampunk ones. You've seen them, right?
Oh, the dudes with the metal balloons?
Yeah. Super cool. And then the other ones are the Fire Slayers, which look a little more like these guys, but they're all like half naked and I don't know, just not a look I'm into for my dwarves. And so I kind of like more standard dwarves, actually.
Okay.
Those sort of exist in Sigmar, but not really. It's not a line that's been developed.
Fair, yeah.
So it's like, cool, well, these are kind of, again, a particular take on dwarves, of course, right? But I feel like closer to normal dwarves than the steampunk dwarves that you get in Sigmar. And plus, I wasn't a faction I wanted to get into.
Fair.
Exactly. It's just very different than the rest of the game, which is cool in its own way. So I was like, yeah, these guys look cool. I was kind of looking at the different lines. I usually don't like the human factions. They're usually just kind of boring to me.
Is it like spell-wise boring or just look-wise?
Spell-wise?
Okay.
Wait,
like rules-wise.
Oh, rules-wise.
Yeah.
No, just narratively.
Okay.
Just narratively. Like, I'm not into human factions.
Fair.
Typically in most games, yeah. Actually, I don't think in any game I play a human faction. Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, I find, humans usually boring. But with Conquest, I think they're really cool. It's like a kind of ragtag band of like, this is what's left over of the human race. And they've tried to form kind of a union and stuff, so it's very typical, like these are your knights, these are your dudes, but they're humans, they're born on Ea, they were created on Ea, they're native to Ea, so they have the best magical abilities.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, because they weren't made like.
Yeah,
like
they're
saying,
flame
right?
priests, melt regiments,
Yeah.
which is kind of scary, but you can kind of pick them off from afar. But it's also a thing of, can you do enough damage to them before they get up to you?
Got it. Interesting. Yeah. I'll have to play at some point in the near future. Kind of looking forward to it. Thank you, Stephen Looney. Shout out to Zach due to his constant plugging of Badger airbrushes. I got my first Patriot 105 and a slew of paints and thinner and cleaners. A whole slew of paints and thinners and cleaners. My first project is going to be my centerpiece for my Eldar army, my Revenant Titan. That's awesome. I'd be curious, Stephen, if you're still around, what craft world you're going to paint these guys as, or if it's going to be a custom craft world, just what color. That's super cool. You're going to love the Patriot 105. It is we were chatting a little bit about airbrushes before the stream today, and it is an airbrush that you really can't mess up. It is hard to do anything wrong with it. And you'll find, have you ever used any of the conversion kits on the Patriot?
No.
To get smaller? Yeah, they're cool. The bigger one is, I think the one you get with the Patriot is usually actually called the Fine. The bulb is blue. Yeah,
Okay.
It's
Okay.
this one that I have in here.
Okay, yeah.
And then they have one where the bulb is silver, and that is like the general, and it's actually wider. Even.
Interesting.
And you almost don't. I've almost never used it.
That sounds like a rattle can.
It's almost like yeah. You kind of
just go through like gallons of paint.
I've put it in when I've been like base coating terrain, and I'm sort of like, I think I probably could have just kept the blue one in.
Right.
And done this instead of like 10 minutes, instead of 9 minutes, 10 minutes maybe.
Right,
Like, you know what I
yeah.
mean? Like, but then I have gotten the small one, the black one, and for this, and it was nice. It was cool, but I will say that it was finicky. More finicky even than the Sotar.
Ooh,
it was almost like the Patriot just wasn't really designed for that.
Yeah. So I like the Patriot a lot. Usually when people come in asking for like airbrush recommendations, I usually either go for the Patriot or the Sotar, unless they want like a finer brush. Then I'll go with an Infinity. But yeah, like I'm really excited. Usually too around this time of year is when people really start getting into airbrushing for the first time. Whether it be for like, a Christmas present or something. So it's always exciting because we get a slew of people who come into the store and go, well, I just bought my first airbrush.
Yeah.
Where do I start? Where do I begin? And that's always a ton of fun because you can really tell when people are like, I'm all in, give me everything that you got. And that's a lot of fun to talk to people
and
like
it sounds
that.
like, sorry.
No, yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like Steven is in that, and he says, hashtag New Year, New Army, and we actually have some stuff coming up here at Hobby Titans that is in that vein. We have some armies we're going to be doing there over on Tabletop Titans. As some of you guys know, there was a vote for a new army that might find its way over here on Hobby Titans. Some work we'll be doing on it. That's, definitely will, actually.
Is it a secret?
It's not really a secret. No, we're gonna be working on an Alpha Legion army, some metallics and some non-metallics. Very excited. Yeah.
Wow.
What?
I have no idea what that is.
Oh yeah. They're like the sneaky, evil Chaos Space Marines. They're like the Chaos Space Marines, but they're extra sneaky. They're like they specialize in sneakiness.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, he says for his color, just adding to it, thank you, Stephen, for clarifying. He says, considering orange and cream with teal accents, but I love dark purple and cream as well. Yeah, so actually the orange and cream look is a good one. A guy that you've heard us chat about on the stream before who used to live in the area, Colin Ward, you can find him on Legalized Mischief on Instagram. He has done this scheme of the orange and the cream, the bone really kind of color. I think instead of teal, the green color he used, we were calling it like cucumber. It was beautiful color, and you can see what that looks like. Probably if you go to his Instagram and go back quite a bit, this was years ago, unless he's keeping up with that that army. I don't think I've seen him do anything for it recently. So. Check that out, but that sounds very awesome. And it's not a bad idea to do a generic color, so that you're not tied to a particular craft world if you don't want to be.
Would a craft world be considered like a Space Marine faction? Is that what that is?
Exactly.
Oh,
like
okay.
when you helped me paint my guys, they were a specific one.
The red dudes. Yeah.
Red men. Yeah. I always kind of want to do that with Space Marines because I never know any Space Marine stuff.
Oh,
And
okay.
I'm always like, oh, the yellow Space Marines. Of course I do know what they're called. Okay, well, this model is interesting.
He's got some flame. You got to do some OSL.
I get to do a lot of flame.
Yeah.
I'll do a top down on so you guys can see what I'm working with here. One thing I did that I found immensely useful, I will say this about this model. It has something that sometimes I think I've been spoiled with a lot of GW models where the newer GW models, let's clarify, where it's usually very clear where something starts and something ends. This guy, because, and a lot of it also has to do just with the design of the metal being going into his skin and flesh and stuff. Sometimes hard to tell like where metal and flesh are.
Yeah.
Right. Which I think is partially a design aesthetic. But going through and actually picking everything out with the metal that I think is metal actually helped a lot. Now I can kind of see what's going on a lot better. And sometimes people will do this. I've seen people do like, especially people who are prime a model white, they'll prime a model white, right? And then they'll just hit it with a wash, the whole thing with a wash.
To see where things are.
Like a yellow wash or
Yeah.
something like that, just to see where things are.
I find that's very useful when you zenithal something as well too. Of like, I lost every single bit of detail. Everything is black, and we just hit it with some white to break it up a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that actually did help to kind of carefully go in with a brush and pick out all the metal.
Yeah, I was having that issue the other day because I wanted to paint this guy up to a certain point because I even though this guy is just a regiment dude, he's still my standard bearer, so I want to paint him a little bit better than everyone else. But also, I was just having a lot of fun painting him.
Yeah.
And some of the leathers, like he has a bunch of straps all over him, and it wasn't super easy
We'll zoom in here.
to like point out like which one was a strap, which one
Right,
was
right,
just
right.
a part of his cloth or something, or not cloth, but like other leather. And so that was fun. And after a point, I was just like, well, I'm just going to paint a black line, and that's the strap. And then I went in and I highlighted that line and you know made it different and stuff. Like right over here, this is just completely flush with the rest of it. So because his strap came over, I needed to highlight that and make it very obvious that that was a strap. So
Now
I get what you mean.
This is sort of a new thing for you. You're painting an army.
I am.
This is kind of a new thing for you, right?
Yes.
Yeah. How's it
Yeah.
going so far?
You know,
How's
this is my first dude.
Oh, okay. So sounds like
Yeah, I painted the Raptors up to a certain level,
Okay.
and it was mainly because I mean that's another thing with the Vadroon is that they get dinosaurs, and I painted the Raptors just the Raptors themselves up to certain levels because I wanted to pick a color scheme for them, and I wanted to see what I liked.
Yeah.
And so they're all different colors right now, but I think I've picked a good thing, and I've made it make sense in my head of why they would be like that. I tried looking at different predators, different fish, different snakes, different things.
Interesting. Yeah. Taking
just
stuff from real life. I
yeah,
like
to
it.
make them make sense.
Right.
But I'm also a big fan of dark colors mixed with very, very, very bright pops of neon.
Oh, okay.
And so they have these beautiful tail feathers because they're feathered dinosaurs. And so the tips of their feathers are all neon. And then the rest of them are pretty dark colors. And I've kind of chalked it up to like, oh, it's distracting. Their face and the dangerous parts are the dark colors. And so if they're hunting something would be more entertained by the neon colors on their tail and not really pay attention to the chompy bits or the scratchy bits. So
like a real dark blue or dark green with neon is such a beautiful look.
Yeah.
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 Any dark color, but I like dark blue with like different neons or dark green or even like a gray. Like really cool look.
Yeah. So I've chosen a like a black.
No, so I'm sorry, Kat.
Yeah.
May I ask real quick? Yeah. Did you base them off of like a specific bird, or did you end up kind of basing them off something
Well, for
specific, or
the
just kind of generically collecting ideas?
for the color schemes, I just kind of went with like whatever I wanted to do, and then
Okay.
I tried to find something that matched it. As far as like patterns go, but I was struggling a lot doing it that way. I kind of stumbled upon a color scheme that I liked, but trying to implement it to make it look like an animal rather than just like, this is really nicely blended fabric or something, if that makes sense.
Right. No, that
was
a
little bit hard doing it that way. So I picked 2 color schemes because I have 2 regiments of Raptor Riders. One of them is going to be black fading into like a really bright blue, but the fade is going to be a bunch of spots and circles and stuff. And that I actually found on a fish, that exact color scheme and that exact fade out and stuff. So the different scales and stuff on the fish were different colors. And
do you know what type of fish?
I wish I knew. It would make looking it up so much easier. I just Googled tropical fish. I just Googled blue tropical fish, and you can find it too. So yeah. And then the other color scheme that I picked was a kind of dark mauve pink into a like neon yellow.
Oh, okay. Cool. Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah. And as far as the pattern that I'm going to be using to blend that into it, that was just a different fish. I think it was like a tuna or something. But yeah, no, I liked that. That was the one that I coincidentally stumbled into. The other like pattern that I was trying to play with was like a teal green into yellow into like a fluorescent orange, which I loved a lot. It looked really cool. It made it look like a toy.
Oh, I see.
And so I didn't want to go for that.
Yep. Okay, well, look, guys, I will real quick. I'm sure you guys what I've been up to. Maybe I can pass this to Kat real quick in here. So I'll kind of just show you guys. I'm doing fairly normal skin. The skin recipe I used here on this guy is not that dissimilar, honestly, from what I do on my Ogors with Sigmar. So I started with a Mournfang brown. I did Agrax Earthshade, and then I lightly airbrushed XV88, which is like an ochre color, and then finished with, I think it was Xandri Dust? Yeah, Xandri Dust. Then I went in and kind of defined some areas with Agrax. So skin largely done. I am actually going to bring a highlight up a Karak stone, but I'm going to wait to the end to do that because I have a little more airbrushing to do. The metal, like I said, all I've done so far with the metal is just pick out the areas of the metal. But what I'm now going to do is very, very, very carefully airbrush a lighter metal to kind of give it a little bit of a highlight. Then I'm actually going to end up, I think, using, we've brought this color up many times on the show before. I'm going to try to use a little Turbo Dork blue steel to give the metal a blue look.
Interesting.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see how it does. You know, we've been talking, you've been hearing Brett and I talk about how we kind of like Turbo Dork a little more, not as like something that covers the whole thing, but as used selectively almost. So that's kind of the ideas. I'm almost hoping I can tint it blue, but frankly, probably to do that, I should actually use an ink or something like that, or a shade, but we'll see. I almost don't want that look of like, you know, going in with a shade, but I might. I have the turquoise one I might use, so we'll see.
Okay.
We're gonna see how the blue steel looks first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, because usually when I'm doing metallics and stuff, and I'm gonna try and tint it a different color, I'll use I really like the Minotaur Ghost tints for something like that, or just an ink. Mostly just because I want the same metallic flake underneath it.
I almost don't. Yeah, that's why we're gonna see how this looks, because I almost don't. You know, if I'm trying to think how to say this, I want it to not be all blue metal. I want to have like areas of blue. That's kind of why I'm gonna try going in with a small, almost like a Zenithal of the blue steel. See how it looks.
Yeah. That'd be fun.
well, we'll see.
Hopefully.
Yet to be determined.
Has the potential to be fun.
Has potential to be fun. Thank you, Joaquin. He says, Happy New Year, Titans. Excited you're working on Conquest. I'm painting 3 Spires Avatara while I watch. Any interest from other Titans or plans to play on stream? Yeah, I cannot speak for those guys, to be honest with you. But yes, as far as interest goes, plans to play on stream, can't speak for those guys. But I don't know.
If you put enough pressure on them.
You put enough pressure on them, sure. Also worth pointing out, one of the issues we have is just a bandwidth issue, quite frankly, of where do we get these armies from, right? So, for example, a lot of fans were excited about us playing Star Wars Legion. Some fans, Blake and some of his friends, so much so that they just ended up sending us 2 fully painted armies.
Wow.
Which was really awesome of them. I don't expect people to do that. We don't expect people to do that. We actually, I mean, I almost don't want people to be doing that. It's extremely nice, but it's, you know, if we have Conquest models and we end up with a Conquest army and we have the bandwidth to paint the armies, then probably we would definitely play. I mean, and I think that can happen, but it's just a matter of time, really.
Yeah, my big goal is like, I mean, a big part of the reason why I got into Conquest was because I'm getting in on the ground level. It feels like, you know, I'm not lost in the lore. I'm not lost in the options.
Right.
And so it was just easier for me to get into like a mass war game at this kind of scale. And also the cool part is that they have like a small skirmish version of it called First Blood that makes getting a feel for Conquest really good. They're going to redesign First Blood and like the rules and everything very shortly. They've already talked about it. They're already working on it because it could use some help, some tweaking. It just feels right now like just a small version of The Last Argument of Kings, which is their big game. But there's a lot of potential for it to be its own thing, kind of like how Kill Team is with 40K. But one of my big pushes was like, I'm gonna paint an army because I've talked about it. I've kind of bragged about it. I've put my name on it. I'm going to paint an army. There was a point where I was going to get into 40K, and I chose Imperial Knights because, you know, it's 6 models versus, I don't know, however many, 50. I don't know. That sounds like a good number.
Sure, depending on the army.
But, you know, then it I didn't do that. And I ended up selling all of the kits that I bought. So because this is a game that I really got into the lore of, I'm also really heavily invested in it as well too. I'm an official vanguard for Conquest and everything. And so, you know, I signed up to be a community leader for it. I'm really in on it, and I like it a lot. The Bellum guys are fantastic to work with. They care about their communities. They care about supporting the people who, you know, are pushing their game and stuff. And that level of love you don't really get from, you know, one of the big games like 40K.
Yeah,
so,
they've gone better, but the like you're saying, because you're involved, right, with a big game store, national game store at this point, and your interactions with Games Workshop are going to be less than these, it sounds like, and there's something to that, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So I think that I'm excited to have you go through and paint an army to see how you feel about that process.
Yeah. I want to do it. I had a blast painting this guy. And the other thing is that Conquest, Bellum in general, they give you a lot of, except for the characters because they're made out of resin, they give you a lot of kit bashing bits, essentially.
Okay.
A lot of their boxes can be built multiple ways. Like the box of Braves can be built into a box of Hunters. And so you have all those bits and pieces and you know, things in the box already. But it's small little things, like here's a different shield, here's a different arm, here's a different little tiny thing that you can just glue onto their shoulder to make it yours, which I think is really cool. And so there's a lot of unique things that you can do with just the models themselves, which I find makes them a little bit more interesting to paint. Also, the larger scale makes it a little bit easier. If you just want to go in and airbrush a full army, you can totally do that.
Right. The scale is interesting. It's almost hard to tell that it's larger, and it's also like I'm painting a dwarf, so I don't know, right? So it's kind of hard to tell, like painting something that's a dwarf here, and then meanwhile painting something that's like a I guess the point is there's different size models in every game, right? And I don't actually have a dwarf nearby to compare this to.
Like a 40k dwarf.
Yeah. Well, there are no 40.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Age of Sigmar dwarf.
Sigmar dwarfs. Yeah.
Games Workshop dwarf.
Yeah.
It's all the same to me. I'm sorry
No,
if
that's
that
okay.
offends anybody. I'm not sorry.
I don't think it's gonna offend anybody.
I hope not.
Yeah, I think you're okay. Okay. Hey, I'm kind of liking the slight bluing with the blue steel. Actually.
Yeah, I mean, I can see it from here, which is actually really fun.
Yeah.
I was like kind of scared because the blue that you picked out is very silver. So I was like, is this going to make much of a difference? But I can see it. So
the blue steel.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I want. And I've worked with this color before. I love this color. I'm gonna have to do some cleanup on his skin though, unfortunately, which is.
It happens when you
happens.
don't mask. Yeah.
And I'm really not masking at all. So cool. Yeah. And then actually, the nice thing that this is gonna do for me is that when I edge highlight this metal, I'm gonna be able to kind of go back with the light non-blue metal and edge highlight with that color, and I think it's going to be like a cool look.
Nice.
So it'll be like a non.
Yeah, because they're already kind of blended into each other, so
Right,
like it's
yeah.
not going to be a stark line.
Yeah. Exactly. Cool. Okay. Cool. That worked out well. Had no idea how that was going to go.
No, I also think it's really cool that you picked the blue as well, because you're doing traditional just red flames. That'll look really great.
Oh wait, though. Oh wait, should I do blue flames? I could do blue flames.
If you want to.
You just told me something that's going to look really great, and now I'm like.
But you
oh,
could.
Wait,
You
what
could.
If I don't do
you
that?
could. I mean, you were just telling me the other day you really like monochrome things.
I
so,
do.
Well,
these guys don't have the skin.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm gonna do blue flames.
Do it. I think that'd be awesome.
You just talked me into it by telling me that you would like it if I didn't do it. Kind of. I wasn't even.
I think I'd like it if
about
you did it other. Yeah. I was just gonna say that the contrast between the red and the blue would look really cool, but I also think just blue flames in general would make your army stand out a lot.
I think so, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm realizing. Like it's gonna make it look a little more unique. And yeah. Oh, and you know what else I can then do? I did start the base for this guy. I can do a snow base. He can be like he can be like in a snowy snow
'cause
base, blue flames.
Now that the Dogholm are free, their big drive is conquest. It's conquering.
So they're going to
The
snowy
world.
places.
They're going everywhere. That's the whole reason why the Wadroon are a playable race and not just like controlled by the Spires are the fact that the Spires then realized that they needed to create their own race, and they stumbled upon the ability to make the Wadroon, and the whole thing was that they could create these little drone dudes, which is kind of what the Spire army is just a bunch of like flesh golems. They didn't want that. They wanted sentient things that they didn't have to control, that were bred and made for war, which is essentially what the Wadroon are. However, through their experiments and stuff, they were finding it very difficult to create sentient life. And then just through sheer miracle of whatever, they stumbled upon the 4 Primarchs of the Wadroon race, or the Primorcs, as some people have called them.
Primorcs, I like it. Well, Primarchs are like a big 40K thing.
Yes.
So the
Yes. And so they stumbled upon them And they found that essentially when they bred them together, all the Wadroon and all the babies and stuff that they created were then sentient. Any like attempt to recreate that experiment with creating the Primarchs just went south. They couldn't do it. It was just some sort of like miraculous life thing. And then
You can only really make like orcs one time. Right?
yeah, and so essentially
We've all
Wadroon,
been there. We've all tried to,
yeah, I mean, we all know what that's like. So
Yeah.
you know, I can definitely feel the spire on that. And essentially, what happened was the Dwagholm came for that tower, and for the spires specifically living in that tower. And so, in order to buy themselves time to escape, the spires released the Wadroon to fight the Dwagholm, and so that they could escape.
Oh, so we basically are like science experiment races fighting each other?
Yeah, and so the Wadroon bought the spire enough time to escape, but they weren't a complete race. They hadn't been bred completely to the point where they were like, you know, this is war and they're good at it and this is what they do. They were good, but the Dwagholm were better. And the Primarchs essentially sacrificed themselves to save the rest of the race. And so only one Primarch exists still. Primarch, yeah.
Primarch, okay.
Only one Primarch exists still, and she is the queen. It's a matriarchal society.
Is there a model? I think I might have seen. Is there a model of that?
I don't think so, no.
Okay.
Yeah, the Primarchs would be as big as like the Jotnar. There are queens, essentially, so there are tribe leaders and stuff. I believe, maybe. I don't know.
I think I saw or artwork of like a giant.
Yeah, because there is a matriarch
thing.
queen character.
Okay.
So maybe, but I'm not entirely sure. I'd have to look into the lore just a little bit more.
Okay.
But yeah, so they essentially escaped into the waste, but so the Dwagholm weren't concerned with the Wadroon, and they went and destroyed the tower, which then released all of the biomatter that was being stored there into the world, which created this lush jungle oasis in the middle of this desert.
That's cool.
And that's where the dinosaurs were also being experimented on in this same tower as well too. So the dinosaurs escaped, and it's just some sort of like, you know, lore of they were created in the same space, and so maybe that's why the Wadroon can communicate with them.
Got it.
And so they have dinosaurs and stuff. I really wanted to paint my apex predator on stream, but it's huge, and I'd be doing one little tiny thing.
Well, we'll have to do that
yeah.
at some point. We can that'd be cool to see. Okay, so I have some experimentation to do here because I'm going to do blue flames, and I also want to do as we kind of talked about earlier. Oh my gosh, are your inks over there?
They're on the floor.
Okay,
yeah.
I can look. We talked about you got me out inks from your set. I'll probably use the turquoise.
Yeah.
From
Your stuff.
for red fire.
Yeah.
But now here I have decided suddenly that I want to do blue flames.
You know, that's great though.
And so I need
You're
different
inspired,
inks.
which
Yeah.
is great.
So I think I need to do a little bit of practice here on this. You've done blue flame before, but not the ink method.
No.
What's your advice to me as somebody who has done blue flame? Because I've done flame. I've actually not done blue flame.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very similar to red flame because the farther you get out from the source of the fire, the darker it gets.
Right.
If you want to be realistic with it, you would go from blue to red the further you get out.
Blue would be like in the middle.
Blue would be in the middle. White would be essentially where you would start, and then it would go to blue to
sorry,
red.
white would... Wait. Sorry. Okay, hold on. It's confusing.
If you just to keep it simple, because you know you're going to be doing a whole army of it, I would start with white, and that would be your base, and then go into a lighter blue, into a darker blue. But since you're going to be doing inks and stuff, I would pick a blue ink and then just fade it into your white is essentially what I would do. But I would definitely paint it white first.
White first, yeah. Blue ink. Then turquoise ink, which I have already. Dark green ink. Should I do green fire? No, I'm not gonna do that. That would be silly. But it's tempting because I do love the. Oh, I think this is. I think I got the.
Sort of like a kind of like a hex flame almost.
Right. I think the luminous green ink one you have there is one I got. Okay, cool. Well, look, as always, we did some top fives.
Yeah.
Yeah. This week for our top fives, what Kat and I want to do is sort of do. Brett and I did like a reflection. Kat and I want to do a forward-looking thing here for 2022. Sort of what is our plan? What is our life plan for 2022? So I'm gonna hit the left button. I think that means you go first. Yep. Okay. Kat, talk to us. What are your plans, 2022? Hobby plans.
So I'm not gonna lie. When you asked me this question, I was just like, oh no. A very bitter laugh came out because I kind of get really hard on myself when it comes to hobbying.
Okay.
I think every single time someone asks me, like, what are your hobby goals? It's always paint more. But you asked for 5, and so I went specific.
So paint more did end up being one of them, though.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, with the way that this year has, well, these past 2 years, I guess, has panned out is there hasn't been like a whole lot of like in-person competitions. There's been some online competitions and stuff, but I'm not really into those. I want to see other people's pieces is the main drive for me to do. Like to go to competitions, even if I'm not going to bring anything of my own, I want to see like the possibility of like what can be created, what's physically out there. This is possible. That's always fascinating to me. And so that's a big thing. I want to finish a competition piece. With the LVO coming up, there is a painting competition at the LVO. Mm-hmm. I usually enter it. I don't have a piece to enter it. I'm not going to kill myself to try and get something done to enter it, which is what I would normally do. But
a good idea.
I'm going to be kind to myself a little bit and not push myself so much. But there is Adepticon coming up. However, Adepticon doesn't have the crystal brush anymore. It has the Golden Demon. I'm not really into Games Workshop stuff, so I'm not going to be entering that.
Okay.
If I can get it done, I know that Creature Caster has their Resin Beast competition, and I know that they had plans on doing it at Adepticon a few years back. I know they did one online. But it'd be interesting to see them bring it back to Adepticon as well too. I would do something like that. I do have a Creature Caster model that I can finish because it's half painted. Like the majority of my stuff is. It's always half painted, which is why my big goal was to finish something.
To finish something.
So, to finish something, and not just an army, but to finish a competition piece, because that is where I get my most enjoyment out of. I can pour everything I have into this one piece. I obsess over it for months, and then I have to let it go, and then immediately be like, oh, I could have fixed that. But, you know, it's in a judge's hand at that point. I can't do anything. Right. So, yeah.
Okay. Next, look at this one.
Yeah, take at least one hobby class. I've never officially taken a hobby class before. I go to a bunch of different conventions that offer hobby classes, but I'm always too busy to take them. Or there's, you know, I'm there for work and, you know, I don't have the time and opportunity to do it. Speaking of Adepticon, I have carved out time in my schedule. This is something that I have to do if I want to do something. I have to actually make a concentrated effort to do it. Or I will always just fall back on the excuse of, oh, I got to work and I got to do this.
I see.
You know, whatever. So that's been a big goal of mine. That was actually a goal of mine in 2020. But then Adepticon got canceled, so I couldn't do it. But this year, I'm going to do it. We're going to get it done. And it's going to be fun. And I'm going to have just a really fun time learning from other people, and that's a big thing of diversifying myself and not just pigeonholing myself into one thing, and this is what I'm used to and this is what I can do, and
Right.
yeah, so
Which is big, right?
Yeah.
Because it is easy to just kind of get decent at something and be like, cool, I can just do this forever.
right. Oh, I'm pretty good at this, and this is it. But I want to do other things. I have I have these like kind of unicorn pieces in my head that I want to do. I know I'm not skilled enough to do it, so I haven't even touched it. It's not even like I'm intimidating or intimidated by it, so I'm not going to do it. It's I know I can't, but I want to build my skills up to the point where I can, or I feel like it's achievable. And I think, there's only one way to do that, and that's painting more and learning from people. So there are a couple classes that I checked out the other day that I am very excited for tickets to go live. I think they go live next week for Adepticon. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And classes are a big deal. Like, but before we move on to your next one, for a few years back, I was doing a lot of teaching of music stuff. And one of the big things that people would often say, they'd say, well, like, does anyone actually want to study these things anymore, music composition or music theory? Can you not just go learn this stuff online? And the answer to that question, as anyone who's ever worked with a coach or a teacher, or even in a class setting, right?
Yeah.
Not even necessarily in a one-on-one setting, is like, somebody shows you something on YouTube and you're like, well, yeah, but wait, what if, right? And then
Right.
that answer is not there on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
So the classes are good because they give you the ability
To ask questions.
And like even here, right? Like you guys are awesome fans, and you'll super chat us in and ask us a question, and we always try to give very thorough answers. Brett is especially good at that. We try to give nice, thorough answers, but how often do you guys then feel like saying, okay, cool, they didn't answer this one thing, right? Like,
Right.
So classes are really good for that if you really kind of want like a thorough sit down and every
Yeah, it's also a thing of everyone does things differently, and I do things the way that I do things because that's either how I've come up with them or that's what I've been taught by the few people that I've asked.
Mm-hmm.
But I've never actually sat down in a hobby class specifically around miniature painting. I've taken a lot of classes on traditional painting, landscape
Right.
painting, stuff like that, but I've never done one just based on hobby stuff. I've done, I've sat with Seth for many of hours, right? But he's one person who does things his way.
one weird way, right?
Right, and so I want to learn how everyone else does them. And we're saying this because he's not listening.
Yeah.
But
He's definitely not listening.
but also he's also given me this advice too of like, you should take classes. You want to learn this, you should take classes, because he's really good at scale modeling, he's really good at vehicles, he's really good at building dioramas. But if I want to learn how to paint skin really well, or if I want to learn how to do OSL, or if I want to learn how to do non-metallic metals, then I got to go and learn that from somebody else, because that's not something that he excels at. And the few times that I've taken like a competition piece to LVO or to other things where they have classes and just asked, hey, what's one thing that you would suggest I do to this? And the amount that I've learned in like an hour, it's crazy to me. So that's a big thing. That's something that I really want to really push myself to do. I don't want to overload myself, but I want to take at least like 2 classes.
Yeah.
I think that would be good. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Because I still have work to do, but yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, couple more. What else are you up to?
Yeah, finish at least 2 whole tables. I build thematic
Oh,
tables.
number 3.
Oh, yeah. Scratch build something.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, scratch build something. I follow a lot of people on Instagram who either scratch build diorama pieces, scratch build Gundam like parts and stuff. Seth does a lot of this as well too. And so it's always fascinated me of like, hey, I'm gonna take this piece of plastic card and now it's a fully like working leg that I can pull apart and everything and show you the mechanical insides of this robot that you're building. And that I think is super awesome. And so I want to get better at that. So I want to do that. I want to do that. If I have to take a class on it, then I totally will. And that kind of...
That's like both things.
Exactly. Yeah.
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 You just did 2 of your 5 goals.
2 birds, 1 stone.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Okay. So then you also said 2 tables.
2 tables. Yeah. So I build thematic tables, and they are usually like, this is a world, and I just want to do 2 of them. I've done maybe like an 1/8 of one so far, so I kind of got a head start on it, but I want to push myself because again with that I have a lot of ideas that I've just never like actually put, foam to table or whatever before, of like, this would be really cool to play on. That's it.
Yeah. And you were even asking a little while back some insights on like how do we make something playable, right? Mm-hmm. Which is fun. I'm excited to see if you end up saying, yeah, cool, let me make a table. And you have made really awesome terrain pieces that would totally work in games already. But to see you do like a whole table, yeah, will be super cool.
Yeah, because a lot of the ideas I have are like, well, that's not really playable on. If I build this giant thing that takes over like half the board, because I want to build like a kind of Norse mythology themed table with Yggdrasil on one end and like the World Eater snake on the other, but like feasibly, can you play around that if I make it as big as I want to make it? I don't think so.
Yeah,
but,
it's also an issue, like with something like that, of course, it's also an issue of, like, do we want to keep playing on that table? Right?
It's a one-time thing.
Right,
yeah.
exactly, yeah. So it's interesting how you have to kind of think about that. But that'd be super cool. And then, like, your last one was pretty great, I thought, right? Just
paint more.
Just paint more.
Just do more, right? But like, and doing
that's
this,
easy. That's actually the hardest one.
yeah, doing this actually has kind of pushed me to do that as well too. Like you were asking me earlier of like how this has kind of fit in with my already pretty hectic schedule. It's actually helped me push myself to paint more and to think about painting more, because I will get caught up in working, and even though I work for a tabletop game store, a lot of what I do is I'm talking on the phone all the time, or I am answering a bunch of emails, or just doing product research and stuff, and I know a lot about a lot of different things, but hobbying is a huge passion of mine, and that's sadly sometimes it gets pushed to the back burner, and it's very easy to do that. So
yeah,
I don't want that to be a thing anymore.
It has been a nice thing about this endeavor, which is that it can't get pushed back.
Yeah.
So you're like, cool, well, that has to now happen.
I have to paint this, like painting this guy, right? Like he had no paint on him 2 days ago, and I was like, well, we're gonna paint Conquest on stream. I'm not gonna bring one of my raptors in because like I still have yet to finalize like the patterns and stuff on them. I'm gonna bring a dude in, and I gotta pick a color scheme, and I gotta pick a recipe for their skin and stuff, and so that's helped push me a little bit of like getting these guys started. Fun,
exciting stuff. Super excited to see boards from you, if I'm honest. Okay, here's some of mine. I want to get better at brushwork. I have spent a lot of the past few years upping my airbrushing skills and upping a lot of techniques that help me kind of get around brushwork. So whether it's
avoiding it, okay.
But I guess like maybe I'm using it wrong, because like I'm okay with edge highlighting and I'm okay with dry brushing, like that stuff. I'm really talking about like just like literally getting in there and doing like blending with brushes and just that those kind of advanced brush skills. I need to kind of up my game on that, along with this next one, which is more oil work. I've done just only a very limited amount of oil work. For me, it's always kind of about finding the project to get it going. So some stuff in mind for this upcoming year where I'll get to do some oil washes and stuff. Because I don't really like to just like grab something and do it from like one model to test it out. I kind of like to be like, cool, here's a big project, like a terrain board or something like that.
Yeah, one thing I find when you're working with different mediums that aren't just like here's a water-based acrylic paint, is you'll find that like you'll start to grab for it when you're doing your other stuff too. It's like like you're learning a new whole skill.
Well, even these inks, once I start, I've used shades before and starting to use contrast more and kind of use them through an airbrush and see what different things they can do. We were talking about how the AK inks are interesting because they're kind of in between like a Citadel shade and a Citadel contrast. And I was like, cool, I want to do flame with ink right now, right?
Yeah.
I haven't really used these until last month, but I was like, yeah, this looks like a good use for it. So you're absolutely right, and it is good for that. Not unlike going to a class, right? You pick up the skill and then you're like, cool, when else can I use this skill? Or let me just suddenly force myself into using this skill right now.
Yeah, I like it. It's very similar to like, what Brett was saying when we were painting the capes and stuff of like, oh, I can immediately think of all these other things that I can apply using glazes on.
Right.
And so that's a big reason of why I want to take classes and stuff is I'm just building my repertoire, and that then just flows into this everything else of miniature painting and even making dioramas and tables and stuff. So
yeah, fun. Fun stuff. Always trying to get better. More getting better for me. Trying to paint my upcoming Daughters of Cain army to a very, very high level. And this army, this number 3 is honestly, I'm not going to do any oil work on it, but it's probably 1, 2, and 4 are kind of like going to be done through number 3. No, excuse me, 1 and 4 and 5, not 2. I want to get this army very high level and be able to do. I kind of like to. I don't know. Just get. Wait, sorry. No, not 4. What am I talking about? Sorry.
Number 3.
Number 3. Okay, number 3.
Paint Daughter of Cain.
Yeah. Number 1 and number 5 are kind of like gonna happen through number 3. That's like the goal.
Okay.
Okay. So
nice.
Yeah, just have an army that is at a very high level. So I'd like to have an army that I can toss up for best paint it. As I go to different events and feel like I at least have a chance in there, or like I'm not totally crazy to put that army up for best painted. You know what I mean? And,
right.
That's something that I would like to do. Really just have a very thought through army in Age of Sigmar. That's like I really a real labor of love kind of a thing.
Yeah, I like how your number 4 specifically one-ups one of mine.
Yeah, I thought about that as I was writing it. I was like, wow, Kat said she wants to do 2, but we should clarify. I want to clarify that we do it a little differently. Yours, like you said, oftentimes you're building beyond. I'm usually tossing stuff on a mat.
Yeah, I want to build a world.
You're building a little. You're doing a little bit more often work than that. So. I usually am not building a actual surface. I don't know if you're intending to or not. At the very least, a cool idea actually might be for both of us to look into how can we make the board work on both a mat and on its own thing. Could be an interesting.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm building right now as well too. With the cute little like sort of Japanese inspired board that I'm building right now. It was heavily inspired by the Lumineth waterfall.
Oh, right, yeah,
bastion thing.
Yep, yeah.
Bobber. That I fully thought was just terrain. Little did I know that you could take it with you.
It does have rules,
yeah. Army. But whatever.
But that's okay. Like, you can also use it just for terrain.
So yeah, I really love that. I love that a lot. And so I'm building kind of a table really inspired around it. There's a customer who often comes by the Redwood City store, and he has offered to 3D print some stuff for me I know that there's some 3D printers here, and I've found some really cool stuff that I want to incorporate into that board. But also I want to build, like, I want to scratch build aspects of it. And so, yeah, there's a lot of water features on it, which I've been told are not great to play with. But, you know, I would like to see at least maybe even like a narrative thing on it. I think that'd be fun.
Yeah, you can do water boards that are playable on. We have one here that we use, but it doesn't have a ton of water effects on it. But it's just kind of set in a watery place. Okay, think I'm done my inking on this guy's blue flames. I think we're gonna see. I might have to go over with some white. I'm going to do a little bit of dry brushing now. Like some careful dry brushing. I'll pass, let me pass this to you. Maybe we can get a little zoom in. Here's how the blue flame has come out on that dude so far. That's before we've done anything else. Just the airbrushing of the inks there. Which I'm okay with. And then now here, the dry brushing is nice. I'm using this blue, snow blue, AK snow blue on this guy.
You have some flashing on your flame. I don't want to be mean. And
where? No, that's okay.
Yeah.
Where? Here, I'm looking at
right
the screen.
in between, right there. Right there.
Okay. On the two top ones there.
Yeah, just right in between them. If you wanted to scrape those out. But yeah, no, I think it looks really cool. I think really though, you got to sell it by putting some stark white at the base here and doing some OSL. That would be really, really, really cool.
Yeah, on his chest, and I have a little bit kind of, I haven't put any of the blue on. I did white the chest area a little bit. So we'll see. Here's the head. I'll pass the head to you now.
Okay.
I'm going to also do another coat of the dry brush with the white, but here is with the snow blue. But the white will be a little starker. Let's see. Oh yeah, there's the flash.
Yeah, I like the blue a lot.
I think we'll just kind of smash these little resin pieces down rather than.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that would be okay.
They flake the resin flashing on the characters flake off really easily. Yeah. No, I like the sculpt of his head a lot. Mm-hmm. It's also really cute that there's like some skulls in his flames.
Right.
Which I think could be fun if you painted them a different color. Not sure how detailed you want to get with it, but I like his face a lot.
I almost, and I need to redo the face because it picked up a lot of the blue. Excuse me, but I do need to redo his face. I think when his face is back to the color of the rest of his skin, it's really gonna like stick out and look super cool. So yeah, very very exciting. Okay, a couple other things here. Finishing up my plans. Yep, make 3 tables of terrain. Of course, this is something I probably will do anyway because I do that pretty much most years. I had 3 boards last year. So most years I make 3 boards. I need to actually start by kind of revisiting a few boards. I revisited a board in last year as well, and I need to do a little bit of that as well to kind of just glam them up and make them more suitable maybe for 9th ed, if they were maybe more suitable for 6th or 7th ed 40K, or some of my boards also adding in, just stuff for Sigmar almost, so that the boards can be used in different games, fantasy settings, sci-fi settings, kind of stripping down like buildings and taking the wilderness and being like, cool, now I need to add some stone buildings or whatever, like that kind of stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that the boards have play in multiple games. And just in general, really, the goal here, just in general, is to just get better. Mine is not do more, I will say that. Mine is probably quality increase.
Yeah, that usually comes with a quantity increase, though. Right?
It does, yeah.
You know, you're not going to get better by not painting.
Right. Very, very true. Okay, how are you doing? Where are you at? We haven't even checked in on this for a little
Yeah,
bit.
I am doing his bone. So I'm putting a real rough glaze, really quick, of a mixture of whole red and cork and leather brown, mixed with a ton of the transpirator, and I'm just using that to wash the bone down a bit because I base coated the bone in vampiric flesh, and so I'm just washing that down completely and then really making sure I'm getting that in the recesses. And it's gonna look very messy. It's gonna look awful. And then I'm gonna go in and pick out stuff with just cork or just vampiric flesh or a mixture of the two and blend that in. Because the one thing that I really like about a lot of the Conquest models is a lot of the textures are already sculpted in, which makes painting an army very fast, but it looks almost to like a higher quality because you are very much aided by all the textures and stuff that are already in the sculpts.
Sure, yeah. I mean, good. That's always big, right? Good modeling is goes a long way. You notice this after you're working with good models, Citadel. These are good, and then you go and do something that you get from a little blister pack that's like $2, and you're like, oh my gosh, I cannot necessarily tell where the cape ends and the belt
shirt begins.
Exactly,
and
right?
Yeah.
You notice that frequently right away when you're working with different brands. And yeah, these are pretty good. I'd be interested, like you said, in working with some of the plastic because this guy was like a resin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one thing with them is that they have updated their plastic as the company grows and as they come out with more models and stuff. So like the Wadroon, I found, because they're the newest army, are a completely different plastic than everything else. And that's one thing that like everyone points out of like, oh, why is your plastic so much better? It's just like a thing of they started off with different plastic and
Oh, I see.
they have like a new factory and stuff that they work with, or just different plastic. So that's one thing that like with their newer models and stuff and their newer kits, they are using the better plastic. But
Okay.
yeah, the Dweghome, I think, were the third army that they came out with. So, they're kind of stuck with
The older.
the older plastic for at least their older kits. The newer stuff has the better plastic.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's see where I'm at here with this guy. Let me ask a question. I'm going to try something with this. What would you use the white ink for?
Oh, I use white ink when I'm airbrushing white instead of, that Minotaur white color. I use white ink most of the time when I'm airbrushing white because it's very thin.
Okay.
It goes on nice. And yeah, that's what I would use white ink for.
Okay.
I'm not entirely sure what white ink would look like if you put it on top of something.
We're
That
gonna
would be
find
very
out.
interesting. I think it would honestly just mute the color.
Okay.
But if you want just white, there is a white right here as well too. A white paint. So
I don't know. This is working pretty well. I'm kind of using it to amp up some of the white that I dry brushed. That maybe has a little more of the dry brush look than I want.
oh, okay, yeah.
So almost like going and
smooth it out.
smooth it out.
Yeah.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah, it's like you're glazing white in. Yeah, I mean that's a big thing of what you can use glazes for as well too, is smoothing out any subpar blending
Yeah. Exactly.
and any like stippling stuff, or if your airbrush kind of like spit a little or is like sputtering, that's a good one as well too.
Okay. Yeah. No, this is pretty good for that. And then what I think I might do for the final step on the flame, after this is, you let me know what you think of this, because I've not done this step I'm about to describe before. But I think I might actually dilute some of the inks down and go back over some of the white to get a little more color. We'll see. I guess I could use the transparator and the ink, yeah. See. Yeah, the white ink is kind of useful.
Yeah, I like when I'm gonna airbrush an ink, or sorry, when I'm gonna airbrush white, I'll typically go for like a white ink. I really like the Monument Hobbies white as well too. It's very ink-like in consistency, but it has a ton of payoff, and it's titanium white, which is very specific. So I like that. I think this is a titanium white ink. Yeah. Yeah. So it's just the brightest you can possibly get.
Yeah, this is nice. Well, good luck on your 2022 goals, Kat.
Yeah, good luck on yours.
Yeah, I think...
It's very specifically one-upping me, you know.
No, I promise that that's not what that was. I have to, yeah, I do, I do pretty much 3 boards every year, but, you know, terrain is a really great place. I've said this a lot on the channel. Terrain is a really great place to advance skills. For a number of reasons. One, you can almost justify anything, trying anything suddenly. Whereas, you know, if you're painting an army, like I said, I'm not going to do oil wash on any of my Daughters of Cain, just because I don't think it's a look I want on them. I realize there's a number of different things that can be done with oil wash, but it's just, yeah.
The specific oil wash you have in mind?
Well,
That's not what you want to do.
I probably will start right with. We're also working. Adrian and I have chatted a lot about kind of making like these terrain packs almost that you add into a terrain board. So like a Tyranid one where you get like a few Tyranid pieces and you can add it to like a city to kind of make it look like it's been infested and stuff. So
okay.
We have one of the things is we have some of the Death Guard terrain back on the shelf, and you know, they're very nurgly and very rotty and all about kind of rot and decay and stuff. So just kind of making some pieces that are grimy and extra dirty and showing some rot and decay, disease and that kind of stuff. So starting there with oil wash. And that's kind of a cliche use of oil wash, but that's a good place, I think, to start.
Yeah.
Because I've not done a ton. I've done very little, like little spot applications more or less is all I've really done.
Yeah, something that I like, I mean, just in general, oils are very versatile, but dot modulation with oils is like a ton of fun, but streaking and everything like that is obviously, I think, what most the people who are like gamers are.
That's like the default,
yeah.
kind of, right? Yeah. Talk to me about dot modulation.
It's a technique where you use a bunch of tiny little dots in order to blend a color together, or, you know, kind of like
I see.
Shade. It'd be very similar to stippling.
Oh, okay.
Stippling.
Yeah, yeah.
But instead of like using a stippling brush, you're putting in every single individual dot yourself.
Got it.
So, yeah, that's a lot of fun with oils and stuff, because they have a translucency to them.
Mm-hmm.
That ends up looking really cool, because you can you can layer them with different colors and stuff, and you get almost kind of like a glaze effect.
Okay.
But
that's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. I'm certainly up for trying a number of different techniques on it with it, but I think like a good place to start is that kind of traditional griminess. Yeah, very exciting. Awesome. Oh, cool. Yeah, guys, please also post your goals. Like other Liberty Fires, I see posting his. Super interested kind of see what other people are up to. Okay. So, still in the blue flame here, and I'm going to pass this to you, Kat. I want your advice on something. And what I would like is I like the way the white has been kind of brought out on the top parts of the flame. But now is kind of what I was wondering. Would blending the white back down in some parts of it? Would you do that with ink? What would your approach be? I'm going to pass this guy to you. There he is. What do you think? I'm putting you on the spot here.
So it's looking very ice.
Icy, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So the white is the hottest part of the flame, right? And so that's why you start with the white and then you go with the blue. So really what you want to do is edge highlight with the darker blue. It'd be very similar to when you're doing like orange flame and stuff or red flame, how when you fade out to a certain point, it gets black because that's like the soot coming off.
Right.
So I like what you've done. It looks really cool. It looks really awesome. It's not giving me a flame look.
Yeah, I'm okay with the kind of ice look.
Okay.
I think, because what you're saying is I've done sort of it in reverse order, right? We should have the lighter colors on the inside.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with this.
It looks cool though. It looks really good.
But I want to maybe blend the white back down in a little bit. So how would you dilute an ink? Would you dilute the same ink we just used?
You wanna blend the white down. I would get the blue ink that you use.
Yeah.
And put a ton of transparator in it, or I have glaze medium. If you want it to still be matte, I would just use that.
The transparator, yeah.
And then go over the spots that you want to dilute down.
Okay. The blue or the turquoise?
Whichever one you want to use, I guess.
Yeah. The turquoise was like the closer to the white color. Let me try both. Let's try some stuff.
Because the thing about ink is that it's a very strong color.
Deceptively so, right?
Yeah.
You almost don't think it. You almost don't think it would be.
It doesn't have a ton of body to it, which
Right.
is why, like, if you're going to put it over something dark, it doesn't really show up. But if you put it over a lighter color, it's very, 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 very strong. Because it's essentially, if you want to think of it as just kind of pure color in a way. And so, yeah, it doesn't have any body to it to cover up something.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting, but it is like you're saying. It is like deceptively. It is weird how. Yeah, just like totally. I probably even need more than this transparator.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I have a huge bottle for a reason, so
Yeah.
use as much as you'd like. But no, I think it looks really cool as ice, and I think you kind of stumbled upon something really awesome. Even if that's not initially what you were going for, I would definitely keep it that way because I think it looks sweet.
We did kind of did it in reverse order. Now, with his hand flame, I did it with his beard. I had sort of had it radiating out dark to light, but then the kind of the white gives it this icy look that I think I'm kind of into. We'll see. It's always good to have a test model. Actually, kind of have to say that the little characters like this, can be a kind of a great way to like get what's up with an army going. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I like painting, the centerpiece of something because in one you establish your color scheme and your color palette on your main person, and also you're doing the most on this one main person, which is kind of what I've heard you want to do with army painting anyway. So yeah, if you're gonna experiment on something, experiment on the main person, unless you're like really kind of giving yourself a hard time, then maybe don't. But I don't know. I just like establishing color palettes and stuff on like a person that I know I really want to put the work into.
Right. Well, I guess that's a little different than the point I was making. I can't say I disagree with that. The point I'm making more so is almost like, hey, if this doesn't go well, this guy's not as expensive to replace as like a whole unit. You know what I mean?
Oh, I see. I see.
Almost like experimentation, as opposed to kind of like getting it down, I guess is what I should say.
I see. I just see it as like you're establishing your technique on your main dude.
I see.
And then you can then just take it to the rest of your guys.
Oh yeah, this helped a bit. Actually, okay, I like it.
Yeah. I'm just finishing up the bone a little bit.
Okay, we're gonna zoom. We're gonna do a little zoom in on you here. See how you're doing on bone.
I'm probably gonna do a little bit more like not on stream and stuff when I can get really up close and personal with it. But it's looking pretty good in my eyes. I like it a lot. His helmet is very red and it sticks out. I don't want to like bring it up to too much of a light color on the tips, mostly just because they're tribal. They roam around a lot. They're dirty. They're grungy. They're gross. And so yeah, that's kind of what I'm gonna stick with. And I'm also, this is a test of my own patience, and
oh, how so?
Every time I do something on him, I'm reminded of like I have 11 more dudes to do this exact same thing on. So I'm trying to rein myself in and not do too much, but also still paint it to a standard that I'm happy with. I mean,
you'll also get faster once you like we were just talking about, right? Once you get this down, you'll get faster.
Yeah. Right? I might put a little bit more contrast in his skin, but I'll do that some other time. I'm gonna really get into his headdress here because that sounds fun to me.
Oh yeah. Yeah, these guys have a very tribal kind of thing going, which is cool.
Yeah, I like them. I like them a lot. They're different than orcs. I understand that they're still orcs, and a lot of people are really tired of orcs, but the dinosaur orcs, which is really fun. The Apex Predator just came out, which is just a giant T-Rex. And it's feasible for me to run 2 in a full army, so I have 2.
That's fun.
And so I can paint them different colors and stuff. And they're huge. They have a ton of detail on them. And the other thing that I really like about them is I think something that the Nurgle actually encompass is that they have just a bunch of bits and bobs hanging off of them that I can paint up different things. I think also Chaos is very much like that as well too.
Yeah.
And so that's fun. That's fun to me. I think what are the giants in
Gargants?
Yeah, they also have some cool stuff hanging from their belts.
We call
that
gubbins in the army painting land. Cat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, gubbins.
Lots of gubbins. Yeah.
They have just lots of little bits.
Yeah.
Which is fun because then I don't know. In my head, every time I'm painting something, I'm telling a little story of like, oh, it would be like this because, they trudge through a bunch of sand, and so everything would be kind of like dusty and sand worn.
Right.
Or they're in a lush jungle oasis, and so their leathers would be kind of oiled down, if it rains there or if it's wet there or something. So
right, yeah, it's true. The character, you can get a lot of good character from gubbins. The Kraken Eater Gargant, for example, was like a coastal raider guy, and he's got all these fish pieces and boat pieces in his person, on his person, as we would say, which is cool. I agree, yeah, and I do like the skulls on this guy. I actually am extra excited now. I'm realizing now, I think this was the move. Painting him icy has actually got me excited about this army. I think with the red look, he's almost a little too close to Fire Slayers from Sigmar. So I'm kind of into this serendipitous move towards ice because it just separates that a little bit.
Yeah,
it's fun to get into.
It's different, and I like that. You get that freedom. You kind of get that freedom with 40K, but like every time I'm like, oh, what if I paint him this way? And it's like, well, what faction is that? And I'm like,
no.
I don't know.
Listen. Don't listen to that. I know. There's always somebody saying like, well, what kind of? Yeah. No, I mean, you should always be able to paint anything anyway and have it work. I guess it is true. Like, it's fair. There's a degree to which, like, if you're going to paint red Space Marines and then you play them as a blue Space Marine, that people don't like that. So you just got to play them as red Space Marines, you just got to live with your choice there. But you can also, there's workarounds. You can be clever about it. You can say, oh, I want to run this chapter, of Space Marines, but they're normally blue, but I want to paint them red, but I can work a little blue in, or I can use the decals from the original, right? Like, there's always something you can do to... I think, like, anytime you do something well, you can get away with anything,
Fair, yeah. I don't know, yeah.
That way, we shouldn't say that that's universally true in life, but in art, it's often true, right?
True.
If you do something well, you can kind of get away with a lot. Art and entertainment, I would say.
Fair, yeah. And I mean, I shouldn't let that discourage me. But I think it's also just mainly a thing of, like, I'm just not super into 40K.
Are you more of a sci-fi
models.
person or more of a fantasy person?
Heavy into fantasy.
More into fantasy.
Yeah, but I'm trying to branch into sci-fi and stuff. There's a book series that I got really into last summer that's kind of melds the two, but it's still very sci-fi. It's called Red Rising, and I obsessively listened to that book from beginning to end. Well, it's 3. Well, it's more than that, but I would just listen to the first 3 because it almost tells a story in sort of like a trilogy, but the story continues on in like the 4th, 5th, and 6th book. But I would highly recommend that. That was like one of the first.
What's it called?
Red Rising.
Okay.
By Peter Brown, I think. But that was kind of one of the first sci-fi stories that I like really took to, and like that kind of bit really hard. And I was really surprised over how much I loved it. Because story-wise, I'm usually more into fantasy stuff. Big Lord of the Rings fan. I like Harry Potter for the most part. But yeah.
You like Harry Potter for the most part?
For the most part, I like Harry Potter. I really liked it when I was, a kid and I was reading the books and stuff when they were coming out. But I don't obsess over it like some people would obsess over it. Like there are whole fandoms over it, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
There's whole fandoms over almost everything, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I like Harry Potter. I like the
it.
houses, but I'm not like I need to watch it. I need to watch a movie.
Right.
Yeah.
Gotta get my Harry Potter in.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm more of a fantasy or sci-fi person, actually. I think I like both. I think I don't care. If it's done well,
I mean, yeah, if anything's done well.
Sure.
Because I really liked the new Dune movie. That was done
That was
really
cool.
well.
Yeah, that was super cool.
And I really like Star Wars.
And I don't actually. I've said before. I've read the book Dune, and I didn't really like it. But
Okay.
the movie was just so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, there are fantasy stuff that I'm not a huge fan of. Like, I tried reading The Wheel of Time. I can't make it past the 5th book. And that is like a big name in like the fantasy world and stuff.
That's a lot of books to read to get to one and be like, hey, I actually don't like this.
It's actually 14 books in total.
Oh, so you actually didn't do, in the overall scheme, you didn't do so hot.
No, but it gets to a point where like the 5th book is like twice as long as the 4th book.
I'm not sure I've read 5 books in my life, ever.
I feel like you're lying. I would hope you're lying. I would really hope you're lying. Now, I really got into audiobooks this like past couple years. I got really into them because when the Mountain View Game Castle still existed, my commute sometimes would be up to like 2 hours long.
Oh no.
Because
because you're driving
like
a mountain
right in
by
between.
Google, yeah,
it's right in between all the big tech companies and stuff, which thankfully has gotten better with work from home and stuff.
Yeah.
But just audiobooks saved me from wanting to pull my hair out. So I was like, okay, cool. When I first tried reading the Wheel of Time books, I tried reading them like as physical books, and it was just way too easy to just put them down and walk away.
Just put some TV on.
But when you're stuck in a car, and that's all the entertainment that you have, you know, I made it a little bit further, but like after a while, it was just like, I can't, it's too frustrating, so yeah.
You can't read normal books when you're driving.
Yes. Yes.
And you can't watch TV while you're driving, really, either.
No. You shouldn't. You shouldn't.
Okay, I glued this guy together. I've got some work on his face to do, which I'm excited about. And some edge highlighting, pick out some little details. But I'm kind of liking the ice look. I'm gonna pass him to you. I think he's kind of looking like a crazy dwarf Yeti type thing. Actually, spotting the brown in on his face is a big deal.
Yeah.
Like that little element of brown back there is big, I think. So I'm kind of digging the ice dwarf.
I like him.
I got a lot of details to pick out yet, but
I like him a lot. I think that was a really good. That was a happy little accident.
Happy little accident,
Yeah.
and snow all over the base, which I've been doing a lot of anyway. I'm gonna do like heavy snow base. Like I'm gonna like put a bunch of the snow down and then just like sink him into it. Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna get to that today though. We'll see.
I think that'd be really cool. I think that would be also funny too, because he'd go with your
My ogres.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. There's a couple other Sigmar armies I've kind of been thinking about tackling in the next couple years, including the Sylvaneth, and they're the trees and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was actually inspired by your icy tree and thinking like I would love to do. They have like the trees with the spirits sticking out.
Okay.
I would love to do like just the icy tree look with like glowing yellow, and just do like I love white, blue, and yellow together. That's like one of my favorite like color combos.
Nice.
And just doing like making them truly look warm, like kind of hopping out of these like frozen trees.
That is funny that you say that white, blue, and yellow are like your favorite color combinations.
Well,
'cause
a favorite,
that
definitely, yeah.
inevitably was the color combination that I painted
The night.
that night.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was based around the visuals that you gave me. So,
Yeah. Definitely a color combo I like a lot. I'm getting into these little dudes. I'm gonna, and actually I will say this, not being a Parabellum ad here, but I will say I don't know if they still have them going on, but they have like these right now. I think you can like buy a starter box, and then you get like 2 other boxes, like something like that. It's like under $100. It's like.
Yeah, I think it's like $99.99 or something like that.
Yeah.
That I think is the 2-player starter set, which is the 100 Kingdoms and Spires.
No, so I know what you're talking about. What I'm talking about, they have a deal.
Oh, okay.
Where it's like you get a box for the army, and it's like a little starter box for that army only. Like it's only.
Oh, it's the war bands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you can add to it. I think like. And then
Like
like
a
for
couple
free you add
regiments?
like 1 more or 2 more boxes.
That's
yeah.
awesome, yeah, because the warbands are definitely really worth it. We didn't have them in stock when I first was like, oh, okay, I'm going to do this. So I started with the First Blood Taster, which is enough to build, I think, about like 600 points, but it doesn't give you a full regiment of anything. It gives you a character. It gives you, I think, like enough to build 4 of like 2 different regiments and stuff. And yeah, it was interesting. It was interesting because then I immediately was like, oh, I want to buy more, which I guess is like really good marketing on their part.
Sure.
But,
You know
yeah.
what? Even Games Workshop has gone that barrier to entry down to the extent where I'll admit for myself, like I just picked up the Bone Reaper, the boxes the big boxes, the Christmas ones
The
they
Battle
did.
Force boxes.
They're like $200, like something like that. I just picked up a couple of the Bone Reaper ones from you guys actually, and it was sort of like, wow, actually this is all I'm really ever gonna need for this army, and it was $400, and that's actually not that bad. Like to all you ever need for this art. Like you could add, and then you can add at this point, like I can add a unit here or there, and it's now the cost is much lower. And I know other games you can get into for under $400.
Yes.
But this was also a lot of models, right? Like it's way more than I'll need. It's like
like
it gives me some flexibility to change my list around and stuff.
Yeah, the one thing that I really liked about Conquest is their price range is a lot lower than what you would expect from like a normal miniature company, and also all of their rules are online for free. So even while we're talking about it right now, if people want to check out the rules and stuff, they can definitely go do that. From people who are just getting into it and are old fantasy players, I've heard it be compared to a lot really closely to like old Games Workshop fantasy.
I see.
And so what I've heard a lot of people say, and people that I've gotten into it, are it scratches that fantasy itch that Age of Sigmar just doesn't quite get yet. And so that has been really fun.
Like your guys are in like little
square
thingies, right?
Yeah.
Which I'm really historically not a fan of, but why not? Like at this point, I play plenty of games that don't do that. So sure, like I could play one that does that. Like, what who cares? Change it up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think overall I've not been a big fan of that, but I think I could be a big fan of that.
I like it more so, one, because I have no experience with like anything else. I've played one game of 40K and I won, so I'm technically undefeated in 40K, which is great. But I think it gives you a lot of like basing opportunities to make it really fun, because all of them sit on circle bases inside these basically like army movers.
Right.
And so it's really cool. You can get really dynamic with even just building up the basing on just the square army mover.
Right.
Which is fun.
Yeah. I when I was a kid, I played Warhammer Fantasy, of course, back in the mid '90s. And that was fun, but I was a kid, and all you're ever really going, when you kind of go back and be like, cool, I want to do the thing I did when I was a kid, you're kind of just like going off like memory almost,
Nostalgia, yeah. I mean, it's very similar to like, oh, I really love this video game, let me play it. Oh, I remember these graphics looking so much better. I remember this being a lot more fun.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah, but I mean, because there are still like, tight-knit fantasy, old fantasy groups. Like I know that's kind of how Ninth Age came to be, were people who really liked that old rule set.
Every time on Tabletop Titans, every time we stream a Age of Sigmar game, there's this one person that goes into our comments and is like, you guys are doing this wrong. Stop doing this. Go play this game. What you're playing sucks.
Oh,
go play.
That's not fun.
Every time he always
that's
does
not
that.
fun.
Yeah, it's like what?
It's now a joke at this point, but yeah,
it's a joke. But it's like he always goes in and it's like, hey, this is stupid. Go play this instead. And he like posts the website like where they have like the Ninth Age rules and stuff.
Oh, that's not fun.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
We're big kids.
To defend the Ninth Age players, all the ones that I know are very nice.
Same.
Yeah.
It's just like it's always he's always there, and I'm like, oh, I like Sigmar. I'm like, wait, I like this game.
Yeah.
But that's okay. Yeah, kind of funny. I don't know what. Well, I guess I know what made me think of that, but
it's funny. Yeah. I mean, speaking of Sigmar, the one army that aesthetically I really liked were the Sylvaneth, and then I saw. I don't know what model it is, but she's like a tree queen thing
with the beetle,
with the bees.
Oh, with the bees. I think that's a.
Or like
and she's playing the
honeycomb.
flute. The one playing the flute.
I don't know. She's got like honeycomb in her, but I have trypophobia or tryptophobia or whatever, and I don't like a lot of like holes, and so like I was like, okay, I'm not going to do this anymore. I don't even know if she was a usable like character. Or whatever,
yeah, I don't.
But it freaked me out.
It's a cool army. It'd be cool in your cherry blossom scheme too, right? Yeah, because like anything you can do with a tree, you can do with that army, because that army is just basically trees, right?
Yeah.
Like literally, it is trees. Okay, painting some faces. That's actually something else I want to get better at in the new year, painting faces. Just getting my face game up, you know? Eyes, faces. I'm going to paint this guy's eyes. I'm thinking of how I'm going to do it. I kind of want to do like white, glowing white. I don't know. Now that he's an Iceman. Here they're like yellow. Like glowing yellow. There's another thing going on here that I need to figure out what I want to do for it. Like the holes in his armor on this box are like yellow. Almost like he's like magma underneath.
Glowing from under, yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of an interesting look. And I think I should do something because it's too cool to not replicate even on the ice scheme. Great face to paint though, actually.
Yeah, I like that about the bigger scale is that it's just you just get more room to do things.
I wish we had a zoom good enough. I don't know, maybe we do, but the thing about his face that I like, let me pass this to you, and like you're gonna know exactly what I'm talking about. But there's like, wait, let me count it. So he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 parts of his face basically that are shown in these bumps that pop up, right? And then on his forehead. In his forehead there's a gap in between. So like across the top, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 kind of bumps, and then his cheek, his 2 cheeks and his nose for 7 is what I'm getting.
Yeah.
And so that makes it so easy to paint and highlight because you're just like bump 1, bump 2, bump 3. Each one's a bump, and then I can go a little bit higher on the nose or whatever. But it's just like it makes it easy because you're looking at instead of just saying like here's a face. Here's just a big face. What do I do with this face? It's like, actually, here's 7 areas that I need to paint.
It was very similar to all the muscles and the sculpt on this guy's back as well too. Of like, it's very defined. It's very much there. It's really easy to highlight. Really easy to put in some shadows and stuff.
Yeah.
And like push it, instead of just making it all kind of like monotone. It's great to just increase your contrast.
Yes. Muscly stuff in general, and not every face can be like that, right? I'm gonna have to really up my face game for my Daughters of Cain army. They're like delicate, mean elf ladies, and they don't have like bumpy faces, right? So like I won't have that luxury that I have here with this guy. But this is very cool. This would actually be a great. I would almost like. After working on this dude now, I'd almost be like, oh yeah, this is like a good place to start on faces, would be this. I don't know how much of the rest of the line is like this, but I'm sure it is. Yeah, kind of a great face to work on.
That's awesome. I like that. Yeah. One like advice that I will always give people when they're struggling with faces and like where to put highlights and stuff like that, watch makeup tutorial videos. Because that is a great place to start. Because you get a giant face, and they're talking about like what they want to highlight, what they want to drop shadows into, which are contours and stuff. And that is one place that I would always suggest people start.
That's interesting. Okay, well, I need to shade in some of this guy's armor. Oh, Fugs, very funny. New phone, who dis? From last night. Very funny. You got me. Again. Okay, so let me think here. Excuse me, guys, for my throat clearing there. Let me think here. Kat, what do you think? Let me ask you. Divots in the armor. I don't know if I want to do glowing, although could be good. Could be good. If I did like white in there. I'll pass. I'll pass to you.
Okay.
I'll see what you think. I care less about what it means and more about how it looks. See how he's got kind of like we'll put it on the glam cam so you guys can see the little bumps. Oh, actually here, let's just do this. The little bumps in the armor on the box there. You can see kind of all of his armor, and he's got like these yellow bumps in it.
These guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't done anything with them yet. The move is going to be, I haven't really done anything with the armor at all yet, other than block the color. And the move is going to either be make them darker, because they're recessed so much, or, make them something kind of interesting, glowing or whatever.
Yeah, I think you should. Because the thing is that like they're breaking up the color of the armor as well too, and
Yeah.
so it'd be very useful if you then use that to drop in some really bright blues or some whites or something.
Yeah.
I think that would be really fun. But honestly, they're kind of whatever you want to make of it, because on the actual model itself, it looks like almost like dents and like damage in the armor.
But then they're also glowing, right?
On the model itself? Well,
I see the
on the box art, yeah. But like,
oh, I
you
see
know, on
right
the
now what
actual
you're saying. Yeah,
model-
right now you're right. Like if I don't do anything with it,
Yeah.
if all I do is recess it, then
It just looks like
dents.
battle damage.
And I'm trying to decide, like, because on one hand, that is the easy thing to do. And it also might be the better thing to do, because I'm trying to imagine if he's got white dots all over him, what's he going to look like? I don't know.
Yeah. How, like, is he going to be pretty pristine, right? Is this what he's going to be like? Do you want to put rust on him?
I'm not going to do rust. I haven't
Okay.
done anything to his armor yet. I'm gonna recess shade like armor and put shading in under the plates and stuff. I could do, I'm a big verdigris guy. I could do verdigris, but I don't think I'm gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. I've done too much verdigris. I'm gonna leave verdigris behind in 2021.
Okay.
2021 was my year of
it's
verdigris, and I've just
done.
I verdigrised out in 2021.
Okay.
I'm still very tempted to do verdigris, though, I'll be honest, but I'm not going to. I'm gonna probably try to make the armor a little more maybe blue. Yet again, because I kind of.
So if you're going to make those divots dark, then bring up the highlights of the armor. If you're going to then make them white or blue in order to make it look like the flame is coming,
You need to make it darker.
or the
first.
ice is
Yeah.
coming from underneath him, from inside of him, I would darken up your armor a lot. So one way or the other, you're going to have to change both of them anyway.
Darken with more blue, maybe, or
or like there's a
even just non-oil could be good. There's a
there's like a metallic, I believe, if I'm remembering it correctly. There's a metallic that's kind of like this color, like this like dark sea blue. I like that a lot if you wanted to darken it up with a metallic. But maybe like you're shying away from verdigris, sorry. Shy away from
I love this color.
non-oil. And shade it with just a different darker color. I think shading it with like a darker turquoise, like if you mixed that dark sea blue with some transparador and put that over like the recesses and stuff in the armor, I think that would be really cool.
I have even easier than that I think will accomplish the same thing. Is Pterodon turquoise.
Yeah.
Contrast, and or what is the one called? The Citadel one, Corellian green shade.
Oh, yeah. I would not know the name of that, but
It's beautiful.
yeah. When you're done picking colors, I think a lot of people are asking for the community picks and stuff.
We have to do fan stuff. You mean, right?
Yeah.
We haven't done fan stuff. We do have awesome fan stuff, and let's do it. Oh, okay. Here we go. Ready? Let's do some fan stuff. Okay, lots of good fan stuff this week. We thought about renaming the fan stuff segment, by the way, for the new year. We're going to name it, If Bridger didn't play 4 hours of League of Legends every night, could he paint this good? And I think the answer is yes.
I don't know.
After some time, for sure. Practice, right? 4 hours a night of League of Legends.
I don't know. I don't know.
We don't know, but we need to find out. So Bridger, don't play 4 hours of League of Legends every
What a
night.
big call out.
It is a big call out. You know
Yeah.
what? You know what, Kat? You're gonna want to get used to these passive aggressive on stream call outs.
Fair.
Okay, here we go.
I have to like do this to see
Over the light, yeah.
Yeah. So amazing. Here's a knight. You have some experience with these.
Yeah. That's a familiar model. I like it. It's really cool. I like the green on it, honestly.
I'm a big fan of like green and cream together like this.
Yeah,
the
I like the
olive
green and the bronze.
Yeah,
That's
also.
just such a it looks very luxurious, which is kind of cool. But yeah.
And knights should actually look very luxurious, which is I don't know. Is that the right word we want to use? Sorry, Kat. I'm doing one of those passive aggressive call outs right now. Luxurious. I guess that's a good word.
That's a word I'm gonna use.
You're gonna use. All right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say regal. It looks very
It's-
like.
What's the difference?
What's the difference between luxurious and regal?
No, I'm gonna call you out.
Okay. Regal means like royal. Luxurious, I think of like spa day at the fancy mall.
Wow. Okay. All right. That's
Okay.
fair.
So spa.
The spa day at the fancy mall is what this.
This makes you think spa day at the fancy mall. Okay,
Yeah.
look, guys, look, she's not backing down. So I like that. Spa day at the fancy mall. Based on my definition of what Kat's word to describe this is. Okay, but look, this is actually great. And I like the base is he's got a little olivey going on in the base. It's actually really nice. There's more of these too. And like sometimes you guys like post like your whole awesome armies. I'm like, I have to pick the best picture. I think this was the best one, but if you guys, as always, are on Discord, check this out because this fan submitted several pictures, and they all look great. Okay, on our TV, you guys always hear me and Brett complain about how the TV doesn't show all the awesome colors of things. On our TV, Kat, I don't know how well you can see this, but he has like a lot of like light blue, dark blue, purple kind of blending going on here on this Helldrake.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad I got to see the pictures.
We saw them before, right? Yeah.
Yeah, before just seeing them on the TV, because
Right.
Before the other times I've been here, the only time I've seen them is on the TV.
Oh,
and I'm
okay.
like trying to squint at the TV and stuff. So
You're like, why is everyone painting
Yeah.
in drab colors all the time?
Yeah, I got to see this in its true form, and that was really cool. That actually kind of like when I was sitting on the floor picking out paints to use, it very much drew my eye and I couldn't look away from it. So that was really cool. I'm just a big fan of like bright colors in general.
Same.
And especially because of the way that this is sculpted, it doesn't look overbearing because, you know, they went in and trimmed it all in like a really nice kind of darker gold. So it doesn't look overwhelming when you do really bright colors. So
The Demon Forge stuff is so cool. It's such a good line. You can do so much stuff with it. And then they, you know, every chaos faction can use these. This is, I'm going to guess clearly a Zinchi one, and it's beautiful. So really nice work on this. Okay, next. Wait, is this Helldrake more luxurious or more regal?
you know, you press stop.
I pressed stop.
So, you know.
Okay, he's back. Okay. Here we go. Oh, Blood Knight. These guys are dope. We actually have a box behind us, right there, over there.
Yeah.
Meg is working on these. These are such a cool model. They're big too.
Yeah. No, when they first came out, I was like, oh, I want these. And then they sold out immediately. So that was fun. But it actually helped because I probably would have bought them and then never painted them and then sold my box. So, you know.
Well, right now, though, you'd have made a profit because they're hard to find.
They just did a reprinting of them, so we're getting them back in the stores.
Okay.
So if anybody wanted them initially and had a really hard time getting them, I would double check stock levels because we got them in maybe like a month ago or something, and they seem to be pretty.
You got
good
them
on
in
their
at
stock
Game Castle
levels.
St. Clair. Meg immediately bought them, and then bought the box, which is also behind me, that has them in it as well. So.
They're really cool. They're really cool. I like them a lot. And this is just so beautifully based as well too.
It's very nice. If you're a Sigmar player, this army actually, Soulblight Gravelords, is one of the top armies in the game. Can be one of the top armies in meta right now. But it actually can struggle to deal damage.
it tends to win games by just sitting and all of the little skeletons and guys just coming back to life all the time. But these guys actually do damage. So if you're like, hey, I want to actually hurt something, then these are the guys, if you can find them. If you don't live in Santa Clara, where Meg is bought all of them. Okay. Okay, super cool. And Wuthar, thank you, as always. Look, guys, I know not all of you post in the Discord thinking, oh, maybe Hobby Titans will show it. But if you want it on Hobby Titans, I love when the names are on here because it just helps me know who did it.
And
Right?
yeah, and give credit where credit's due. I think that's really awesome.
Yeah.
Because like I think one thing where it's like I would like to be able to give a shout out of like, oh, this person painted this, but when we pick the pictures, it's like we're just kind of scrolling through pictures and being like, this is awesome, this is awesome, this is awesome. But I like the name on it.
Kat was asking, what do you look for when you pick these? And I said, well, I like when they look cool, and I also like when they have their name on them.
Yeah.
And that's about it. That's the criteria. Super cool. I love this vehicle. This is Tarhawk's. He has gone with these are modified wheels. The normal wheels on this vehicle, these weird little conveyor belts that a lot of people hate. I actually, frankly, like the weird little conveyor belt, but I also like the wheels. And it looks like he's got like some weathering on the wheels, kind of like looks like almost like salt, like if you've been in a snowy place where they salt the roads. Kind of a look. Ruther, I don't know if you're around, if that's the look you're going for, but these are cool.
Yeah, I like them. I like them a lot. I wish I knew what the original sculpt looked like. But
the tracks, yeah.
But I like when people take weathering to this extreme detail of like, I'm gonna get every little like bit. I'm not gonna leave it out. And so putting dust and dirt and grime and stuff, especially with the way that they've done it on these wheels, it looks very realistic. It's not all just gathered on just the bottom or just the top and stuff. And if you can tell, they've also taken that same color that's on the wheels and put that up along the wheel well, almost like it was sprayed up there. And so that is very realistic, and that's a great job. And that's what I look for when I'm judging, weathering on vehicles and stuff, is how do they move? And did you get that movement? And did you get that usability realistic with their weathering? So great job.
Yeah. It really reminds me of like being in a kid and seeing just like after snow. I grew up in the Northeast where they salt the roads to melt the snow, or used to.
Yeah, I don't know what snow is, so
But they don't salt roads out here though, do they?
No.
Salting roads. It just sounds so ridiculous. Okay, this guy's super cool. Again, on our TV screen, this guy doesn't look amazing. We have to fix these settings. This model is just like very black, white, kind of like a
grim dark.
Dark.
Yeah.
Awesome, like just contrasting stuff going on in here. Awesome job on the head and the face as well.
Yeah, I like the contrast that's in on this model, and like how bright the brights are and how dark it is. It's very dramatic, which I like a lot. It kind of reminds me of like, a noir film.
Yes.
In a way, yeah.
Yes. A noir film, yes.
Sorry, is it regal?
I don't know. I don't think this guy's regal or luxurious. He's noir.
It's a regal noir film.
Yeah, okay. Also super cool. I love this because one thing I've been blabbing about is how I want to see people use brown more as like the accent color.
Yeah.
Here it is. Hopefully, other people will take this cue because this looks amazing. I love like black and brown and white together like this. Super cool.
Yeah, I also just photography wise, I like how they implemented the base, like the basing as the background of the photograph as well too. Like it definitely ties that in together. It's just beautifully balanced as a picture. But I like when people don't just heavily rely on like, black as like as an accent color, or like something, I need to make this darker, I'm just going to put in some Nuln Oil. One thing that one of my art teachers from a long time ago made me do was not use black and not use white in anything that I created for about a month. and breaking myself out of that really helped me learn different values and different layering that I can use. I can make something darker without just relying on black. I can make something look more dramatic with just and like lighter without just relying on like mixing white into a color.
That is literally advice you just gave me with this guy's armor.
Yeah, exactly.
And
so
I'm doing it.
Yeah, I like when that is done really well, and browns really show off that effect really well, I think.
And actually, I think you said an interesting word there. You said, because this is literally what's happening with what I'm painting right now. You said, not that it makes it darker, but you said more dramatic, right? Like, because I'm not using a dark color to wash and it's going into the recesses and tinting the armor and stuff, but it is more dramatic is the word, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not getting darker. It's actually, yeah.
It's not getting lighter. It's just more dramatic.
It's more dramatic.
Yeah, there's different ways that you can play with things that's not just light.
Increasing drama.
Yeah.
That's a good theme for a video or stream that we should do.
Sweet.
How to increase drama.
Well, you get into a fight on Discord. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, go. Okay, now this is just a base, but it's a really cool base.
Yeah. I like it. I like it. I mean,
All right, guys, there's consensus. We like it.
yeah. It reminds me of a spa day at a fancy mall. No.
Yeah, gone wrong though, I think. But the memory of a spa day is there.
No, but jokes aside, I think basing, because I build dioramas and stuff, and so basing, like how I talk about painting models and stuff, I'm always trying to tell a picture with what I'm painting, with what I'm building, with what I'm basing, you know, with every little scene that I set. And so basing is so important to learn. But I like how their use of like the mud and like the little bits and gubbins, as you called them earlier, and burying them and really bringing them to the surface and texturing them and painting them and stuff. I think that's really awesome. Really well done.
Kind
really,
of
really well
excited to see the model that's going to go on this. We often say bases and faces, right? Bases and faces go a long way in making a model look amazing. Like disproportionately so. And I want to see the model that's going to go on this because this looks quite cool.
Yeah.
Okay, here it is. Simple but effective. Awesome paint job. Oh my gosh, guys! I was just saying how bad I am at Space Marine things. I know that this is a repulsor. Somebody knows the exact repulsor this is. I know that it's not anyone currently in the room with me. And Kat's not the only one in the room. I know Seth and Megan also don't know what kind of repulsor this is.
No, we're
but
all
somebody in
shaking
the
our
room does. So it's not in this room. Nobody in this room knows.
It's red. It's a red repulsor.
It's a red repulsor. It's the transport one. Anyway, look, it looks cool. It looks awesome. I love this model, and this paint job's cool. Impulsor. Oh my god, I didn't even have that right. Thanks, digital designer. But what type of impulsor? It's not an executioner. It's the other one. Yep. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. Okay. All right. Maybe it's just called an impulsor. Okay. Anyway, super cool.
I like it. It's like simple. There's not a whole lot of weathering done on it, but there's a little bit, which sells it. I think you can get a really good effect when you just kind of stick to the basics. And so that's really fun. And I like where it's like you can go, wild and crazy, and then you can go really simple and they look really good. They both look really good.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Okay. I think, is that it? We did it.
Yeah. Here's the regal.
The regal luxurious
yeah.
night. Okay. Guys, awesome fan stuff as always. Okay. Hey, I did a thing while we were doing fan stuff. Mm-hmm. I mixed Tarragon turquoise contrast paint with the contrast medium, diluted it down, and ran it through. It fell into the recesses, and it tinted everything blue. I'm going so monochromatic here that I'm very excited. I'm going to pass this to you. I'm gonna shoulder zoom it. This guy you can see the armor there. Now, there's a lot more work left to do in his armor, but I actually kind of like the tinting it did, and I like the way it fell into the recesses. It almost like
look, we did end up with a little bit of verdigris kind of a vibe here. I won't lie.
I think you can still save it, and it won't look.
Oh, save!
Like
Oh,
that.
there's
Yeah,
no.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
there's. I don't need to sit verdigris. Like I'm not gonna. You make. I'm not trying to say it's a bad thing. I'm into it.
Yeah, I think because it's not so concentrated on like, oh, this is where it would settle in weather and stuff.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like that initially. That's not what I got. Mostly just because the blue on his hair also just makes it look icy as well too.
Oh, got
so
it.
it makes it look like the light is reflecting off of him and going everywhere. I'm trying to make you feel better if that's not
No,
what you're
I'm
doing.
happy. I'm happy with how he's looking. Now, if you flip him over, I need to pick a color for this cloth he's got on his butt. I think I'm going to do blue because at this point I'm too
just go
far
all
in
in.
to do a different color. And I don't really have a blue army, do I? Thousand Suns coming along a little bit. How are you doing? Where are you at? Let's take a look.
I threw down some like kind of heavy wash of the dark sea blue on the feathers and stuff, just in where they start. I really wanted to darken that up. I was also waiting for it to dry because what I'm going to do to it now is some dry brushing and stuff. And when you're trying to dry brush over wet stuff, it doesn't really work out that well for you. You tend to get some streaking and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then I'm going to make the tips of his feathers lighter in color, but I'm going to just dry brush it in. I thought about painting individual hairs and like feather strokes and stuff, but
Army painting.
he's just a dude.
Yeah, there you
he's just a dude. So I'm not going to do that.
Now you're thinking like somebody's going to
And
paint
then I'm
a whole
going to
army.
regret it. And then I'm going to go in.
Because remember, if you do it on him, you got to do it on everyone. Right?
Yeah, I think he has the most feathers on him though. Honestly.
So you're telling yourself that now, but then they're gonna release a new model with more feathers.
Yeah.
You're gonna, I really need that unit, and then it's gonna be like the feather unit, and you're like,
I mean, there is the raptors, and I am painting individual strokes on their feathers.
Well, maybe, yeah.
But
But how many of them are in a unit?
3.
Yeah. See, that's a little different, right? Like, and you're gonna have a couple units of those. Maybe like how many of those are you realistically gonna have, like in the near future, anyway?
2, because each raptor is 63 points. And
How many points do you usually play in this game?
with the Last Argument, 2,000 points would be a good baseline. In First Blood plays really, really well at around 800 to 850.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, 2 units of raptors is really kind of really what I push with First Blood. Because I do want to get other things in there. Raptors are great, but when they die, it's heartbreaking because I'm like, wow, that's like 100 and something points of, my army just gone.
Oh my God.
And the Wadroon, because of what they are, they're not a horde army. They're not the way that, people typically think of orcs and stuff. They're very, like one unit is like an elite unit. And so they're very expensive, just points-wise. So when I lose a unit, when I lose a regiment, it's heartbreaking. It also sucks too because the way that the Wadroon play is they're very much with like rhythm based, so because they're tribal stuff, and so they have war chants, and when you activate a unit, that adds a chant marker, and so
you want more units.
You want units, specific units that belong to specific cults, and so they chant specific markers, and then you get to do different things and stuff, and so you want your units to stay alive, even if their only contribution is to just add a chant marker.
Sure.
So yeah.
Fun. Well, I gotta say, this guy was fun to paint. I think I'm getting close. He's very close to battle ready. He might actually be battle ready, and he's pretty fun to paint. I would paint some more of these guys. I wish I could like
make like a unintelligent or less intelligent, let's say, clone of myself to just sit in a room and paint a conquest army for me. But life doesn't work that way.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could, spend the time doing this. I have to make time, but it also makes it so that, like, I'm not spending that time doing something else is essentially what it is. And so I really have to pick and choose when I paint something. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Because I'm painting this, I'm not getting this other thing done.
You're not getting your 4 hours of League of Legends in.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
And that's very important to me.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah. I'm a mid Heimerdinger main. Gnosis is really good as well too. I'm literally naming all of the champions that I know from League of Legends.
I don't know any. I don't know anything from any of this.
There's this little fox girl as well. I don't know. Yeah, Jinx is one of them. They made a show about her.
Bridger
on Netflix.
Bridger has defined League of Legends to me as like it's a really good way to teleport through time. You just like sit down and then 4 hours later, it's 4 hours later, and you're 4 hours later in time.
Oh, okay.
That's how he describes
it. Sleeping to me is just a really good.
Well, that's what we said to him. We were like, "Have you ever tried taking a nap?" And he was like, "Yeah, but you can't really just like lay down and take a nap whenever you want." And we were like, what? Yeah, you can."
All the time that you play League of Legends is probably when you can be taking a nap.
Right. I love how we're just like giving Bridger this advice on.
No,
not really
I'm
even
not.
advice.
I'm not gonna fault playing video games. I play a ton of video games as well too.
We're not. Wait, at this point we're talking about Bridger napping though.
Yeah, fair. Fair.
We're talking about his non-napping. He doesn't nap enough. Yeah. Look, these guys are super cool. Yeah, maybe I'll look into the box set.
I would definitely play a game. Right? Try it out.
Nah. No, I'm just kidding. Yes, of course, it's good. It's good advice. But also, you know what? I gotta say, like, I like it. Like, here's the thing. Like, if you're playing a war game, it's really hard for me to imagine the rules being bad to the point where I'm like, oh my god, I'm never playing this again. Like, would that happen? Could that happen? I can't imagine that. Like,
unless it's just broken, right? But then it's also like, why would you play that, right?
Why would anybody be doing anything with this if that was the right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And look, that's I've heard. I'm sure maybe some people in chat know. I've heard that is the thing that happened with War Machine. But I also like. I can't accept people are like, oh, War Machine was doing well, the community was doing great. Like how sales and remember it, right? Mm-hmm. And I can't believe that like they made an addition to the game that everybody just hated, then it failed and they quit and now it doesn't exist anymore because it still does exist for one, right? And then like, is that really like? People just, oh no, I'm done because of this addition to the game. Like, does that happen?
That happened with X-Wing, for sure. That happened really hard with X-Wing.
And people are just like, yeah, I guess no one plays X-Wing anymore.
Yeah, I mean, X-Wing used to be...
But is it...
like, as big as 40K. It was huge.
Yeah, I guess that's true. It was pretty big.
Yeah.
I remember there was like a year or so where it was like the top game. You're right. Like in like 15, 16, I remember hearing that. Yeah.
Yeah, and now, not a lot of people play it. And, they came out with a new edition that I think they thought was going to save it. And it just didn't hit with people. And so, they moved on to other things, and that's usually what happens, and that's the sad thing that happens, right? It's like if you make one kind of mistake, there are things that people can then kind of divert their attention to. So it's really hard to like fix it if you don't come out with a fix almost immediately.
Well, look, I'm a Games Workshop fan. I love all their games, but it's hard for me to believe. Even Bellum aside, it's hard for me to believe they're the only ones that can manage that system, right? So like, I often wonder what else is going on. Why did War Machine dry up? Why did X like really if you were really passionate about the game, playing games of X-Wing I'm trying to think. I guess in the past when 40K, well, look, lots of people have migrated to Sigmar even recently because they don't like where 40K is currently. So I guess there's some validity to that. It's just hard for me to imagine people being like, hey, I'm totally done with all this because of this one edition that I don't like. That's hard for me to imagine, but I'm also, I'm one person, right? And
yeah, I mean, and then you start getting into what cancel culture basically is. So
cancel culture of a game.
yeah, of just anything, right? Of like, oh, this one thing that I really loved, I now don't want anything to do with it. And people are fickle beings, right? So it just kind of, sometimes you hit that tipping point, right? It's not always just one thing. Maybe it's like one thing after the other, after the other, after the other. And then they do one thing more that just, you're like, well, I was holding out for a fix of this, but instead of fixing this, they made it worse. So I'm done. So I think that's a lot of what kind of happens with some of these other games and stuff. Sometimes the community ruins it. Sometimes the developer ruins it. Sometimes the developer ruins it by saying the community ruined it. I think that's kind of what happened with Guild Ball.
Guild Ball. I barely remember Guild Ball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a bunch of different things.
Yeah.
So I guess really until it happens to you, right? You're not really gonna understand it.
Yeah, I will say that diversifying armies and diversifying games is like something I've gotten into more recently, almost for that purpose, right? To be able to say like, oh, in 40K my armies took a while to get updated, and the new armies had just layers of rules that my armies didn't have, and so that's one of the reasons I started playing Sigmar. I was like, cool, I can just hop into this new game and just like reset, wait for my 40K armies to. Of course, within the span of like 1 month, probably, well, we don't know when Asuryani are getting updated, but then it's like both of them immediately at the same time, right?
Yeah, and I think that's what Games Workshop has going for them is usually like they ruined my army with this FAQ or this errata or whatever, and I just gotta wait now. Or, that's also oftentimes where people will have multiple armies.
Sure, right, yeah.
Okay, cool, I'm just going to wait. And you can just wait, and then it'll come back around, right? So it's very rare when, Games Workshop players will just purge everything. But because they have that reputation of, okay, it'll be my turn sometime.
Yeah.
Yeah, but maybe these other companies or something, or these other games just don't have that. So, yeah.
Kat, whoa, that's looking cool. Wait, real quick though, can you hand me a cotton swab, a generic cotton swab?
It is a generic cotton
It's
swab.
not a Q-tip.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at what you're up to, because the feathers are looking cool. You can't even see his face. He's got a little mask on.
He does got a little mask on. I tried painting his lips a different color. It just made him look like, I don't know. It made him look like he was wearing lipstick, and
I'm into that.
I wasn't into it. It made it look a little messy and weird. I did regret gluing his mask on before I started painting him. But he's just a dude, and so I had to remember. I just got. It's
sub-assemblies are still a thing, though, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, his arms actually fell off. They were glued on. I broke them off because I closed them in a box, and he just happened to snap there, which was actually helpful for me. But
okay,
yeah.
can I real quick? I had a color thing that I'm not in love with either, but I can fix it. So I picked a dark blue for my guy's cloth back there, and it just is like it's just not the right type of blue with the rest of what's going on with him. It actually weirdly looks okay on the TV, but in real life, I'm like, there's something about it.
I agree with you. Because here's the other thing. The blues that you have on him are actually turquoise.
Mostly, right,
and this blue is it's just a navy blue.
It is blue.
Yeah.
It is very regal.
So a lot of the blues that you have on here are green in base.
Yeah.
This is just a navy blue.
It is blue.
It's just a dark blue.
Yeah.
So I would either go in there with like a greenish blue in order to match the tone of these other blues, or paint it red or something.
Yeah.
I think that would be cool.
Now, while you're here, peeps were wondering size differences between 40K and Conquest models and Games Workshop. So, Kat in her right hand has an orc with no hands on it. And in her left hand, a dwarf with no base on him. Okay, let's pass over. Meg ran over and got some models for us to compare. So let's pass over here's a firstborn space wolf. That is not a Primaris. And so actually this orc is probably about the size of a Primaris, I would guess. I'm not gonna send Meg to go hunt for a Primaris Marine. She wouldn't know what to look for. There's literally 1,000 of them over in the other room. But here is then for more size comparison. There is an old dreadnought. Apparently the Space Wolf army was readily available. I'm now realizing because all the models are Space Wolves. Okay, so there
I think Seth is going with her.
Yeah, that's gonna those. Two people that haven't touched a 40K model in a decade. Okay.
Oh no!
And then here is another Space Wolf. Okay, this is a. You know what? This doesn't even make sense because this is. I don't even think this is the actual. Is this the actual model? Or these I think might have been made before that. So, okay, Megan and Seth are on the job. We'll see what they bring back.
Yeah, they're on the hunt.
They're going to bring back the weirdest models. They're going to bring back Forge World stuff. Listen, Kat, no rush on you. You let me know how far you want to go today. Where I have next I need to do on this guy, I want to fix his cloth, and I want to do a little edge highlighting on some of the metal, and then I'm calling this guy battle ready.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm into it. I'm into my blue icy dwarves.
Not super into the shield. I think I got to do a little bit more research on like what colors I want to do. I'm thinking I'm going to do like a blue. I wanted.
Let's get a look at the shield you're not into.
Yeah, yeah. I tried dry brushing on some white to kind of give it that sort of like painted wicker look to it. But I painted the red in first, and then I tried dry brushing in the white around it, so it just got kind of messy. So. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go look up like some African shields or something just to get like some cool pattern and color references and stuff. Later.
Yeah, that's actually gonna look super cool, done that way, with like an African shield theme. And here he is, next to a Primaris Marine.
Yeah, I'm trying to make it so that they're. Because this base is a little bit thicker, but even then.
You know, I will say something that I'm observation, something I don't want to say I'm not into it, but I'm not used to it. The bases are, I feel like your orc guy there, his base is actually smaller than the Primaris Marine.
Yeah.
Diameter wise, and my guy basically barely fits on his base.
Yeah.
I kind of like the bigger bases. GW has been upping their base size to give a little more space to the model. But of course, I also understand these guys are slotting. Most of these models are slotting into a tray.
Yeah, they slot into
the component,
trays.
right?
Yeah, because I think no, I don't have any movement trays in that. But yeah, this guy would be surrounded by 3 other dudes in a square.
This guy be by himself?
Base.
Little character guy? Or is he going with people too?
They can go with their retinues,
okay.
Which would be in like the points of what you build into your character and stuff. And so then they would have their own dudes, but he would essentially sit on a square base that 4 of these dudes would sit in by himself. So
what else would be in the rest of the base? Nothing?
Either your retinue, if you choose to bring a retinue with him,
or emptiness.
If he can do a retinue, or you can just have him be on one big base, but he'd be like in a corner somewhere.
Oh, that's kind of weird.
Yeah, you can.
You fill it in with like little empty bases.
Yeah, you can field him with like. So a regiment is usually like of infantry is usually 12. Like a full regiment of infantry is 12 dudes. You can just bring 11 and then field him with those 11 dudes.
Oh, I see.
So yeah, you do have a little bit of maneuverability there, but oftentimes people just kind of put them by themselves because if you put them in with your regimen, that makes your character a little bit more vulnerable.
Oh, okay.
So
Well, actually,
yeah.
you could have some cool opportunities there if you put him in the thing, and then there's 4 empty spots. You could almost build like a little diorama thing around him with like the
Yeah, and actually, the Dwagholm are the only army right now that has a character with retinue diorama box set that is like already made and everything like that.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, it would be. I forgot what character it was, but it's one character, and then he has his 3 retinue. And it goes onto one big base, and they're all sculpted to be together. And so that would be just one box. That would be just your character model with his retinue. And the Dwagholm are the only ones that actually have a box set like that
That's
right now.
cool.
So that's really cool. You know, it's not favoritism or anything like that. I'm totally not jealous at all.
Oh my gosh! Well, Kat, look, I'm going to tell you.
I have a giant
get ready.
T-Rex. So.
Yeah, get ready for plenty of that in your wargaming days because you'll just like ask like any chaos player. They're like constantly salty about what Imperial players get in 40K.
I mean, I did hear that the Eldar haven't had a new kit in like 10 years or something.
Well, that's not entirely true, but yeah, they have a lot of really old kits, and now they're getting some updates. And it's a big deal. It's
Tyranids.
Tyranids, yeah. With Eldar, it's a little surprising because it is really one of the mainstay like narrative factions of the universe. That said, a lot of them hold up, in my opinion. But that's not everyone's opinion, and also a lot of them don't hold up, even if your opinion is some of them do. But yeah, they are. It looks like they're getting kind of a big update now. They deserve it. But yeah, it happens, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, even if it's been a while, you can either still wait or you can pick up a new army.
Yeah.
But either way, you know something is going to come out eventually.
This is why diversifying, though, as mentioned, is good. I hope I have some time, maybe the second half of this year, to diversify a little bit into this game. Like I said, I don't think I need to play. I'll just jump into it.
Fair. Yeah.
I mean, look, I like painting, so at the end of the day, if I can just like paint a bunch of ice dwarves, apparently, then I'll have fun, you know?
And they're cool models to paint. And
they're cool,
really
yeah.
cool models to paint. The other cool thing, too, is that they do have, like, artisan series models for each faction that are, like, limited edition. They're specially sculpted. They then replace, like, a character model or something like that.
Oh, cool.
So they're playable stuff, like the Ice Jotnar. It was sculpted by Michael Contreras, and it's beautiful. It's huge. It's beautiful. It's huge. And I wish I had grabbed it when we still had it, but we no longer have it. But one of our customers does have it, so I do get to look at it and stuff, because he decided to play Nords, and the Nords are the ones that get to play the big giants and stuff. And that was another thing. They recently announced more artisan series models for other factions, and the Wajun are finally getting their own. So that was a happy day. And
a few more factions are also coming out, right, in the near future here, right?
Yeah, they've slated Old Dominion to come out in Q1 of 2022. So anytime between January and March. And then they do have 2 other factions that they are prepared to come out with at some point. They already have lore and everything. They've already been announced that these are going to be like official factions eventually. There's city-states, which are humans, but it's like Greek mythology. So there's like minotaurs and stuff like that with it. And then there's the Weaver Courts, which are, like I mentioned earlier, the side of the Spire that don't agree with what is currently going on at the Spire right now. And they believe Aya to be their new home, and that they should take care of it, and that they shouldn't plunder it for its goods and stuff. So these would be kind of like druid elves in a way.
Oh, that sounds being
And-
more like something I would like.
Yeah, instead of being like weird flesh golems, they have brought nature into themselves, and they're very focused on seasons. So there's like a weaver of fall, a weaver of summer, a weaver of winter, stuff like that, and they all have like different animalistic aspects to them. So I like that a lot because it just seems really cool in my opinion. But I think they held a vote, and everyone would like the Old Dominion to come out first. So
What?
that is what will be coming out. But that's another thing too, is that they do a lot of it with their community.
Which is cool.
And so it's like, hey, here's these 3 factions, vote to see which ones you would like to come out. They also have the living world as well too, which you get to vote and like determine what happens in lore.
That's cool.
And so yeah, they're really cool. They're really heavily community driven and focused and stuff, which I like a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No complaints there.
Yeah. But I'm getting to a point where
Okay, stopping point?
I'm hitting a pretty okay good stopping point.
Okay. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with how this guy's coming out. I have to do a little bit more on his loincloth thingy, which I guess I'll do right now. And then I think I'm gonna say he's good. He's battle ready. He's ready to go. It was a cool face to paint, honestly, which is great. Great to start off. I guess this is my first completed model of the new year. I'll have to finish his base, but it was cool to get to work on a face that I think was kind of like a good warm-up face for like a finer featured face. Kind of this grumpy dwarf face. Had like, you know, just like these bumps that I could basically highlight up.
Yeah, it was very easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good kind of.
Yeah, I want to say my face was probably the easiest because it just doesn't exist. But you know.
Well, to be honest with you, I mean, you say that, and like I've been painting a lot of models over a lot of years now, and in general, I just tend to mostly do
Helmets.
helmets. For Age of Sigmar, I have these ogres, and they're very similar to this. You can kind of pick out the few spots, and then for their eyes, you know, this guy's eyes are really going to be the thing I need to work on because eyes for Daughters of Cain are just like eyes like ours, and whereas eyes for ogres, I just do like a glossy, beady black eye,
yeah.
to make them look terrible and awful, and like you don't want to be near them. Okay, now I'm going to try as the cloth thing here. You're right. I actually almost turned it more of a dark green now, and it looks better than the blue did. Like the green actually, I mean, it's a dark turquoise, right? But it looks significantly better than the blue did. Okay, so I'm going to water down some of your titanium white ink. Not water, thin down here.
Thin down, yeah.
And I'm going to see if dropping a little bit. That's why I actually wanted the cotton swab, because I'm going to see if dropping a little bit of it into his eye socket looks cool.
Okay.
For his eye.
Okay.
We'll see.
Oh, you want the cotton swab just in case?
Yeah, because I just in case it doesn't look good. And I could also do like a really fine, kind of careful dry brush around that to make it look like it's glowing white. And I think that's what I'm going to do. But we'll see. We'll see if how step one goes here. Okay, here we go. Make sure I know what's going to come out of my brush. So far, I hate it. Put it in both eyes. I think it might actually work, but I just had a little too much in it. So, sorry, my brush was in my mouth, I realized as I was talking. Okay, so I think that's going to work, but I just need to do a little less.
It's interesting.
This is probably my head here. No. There we go.
I'm very curious. Yeah, I'm just like very focused on like you focusing and trying to do this. I'm trying not to distract you. Are you trying to make like his eyes glow in a way?
well, first I want to get the white in there.
Okay.
And then, yeah, to do the glow, I think I'm going to just do a really kind of subtle dry brush. But actually, I don't know that it needs it. I think this is looking pretty good. Yeah, yeah. I just didn't want them to be like dark, sunken eyes, like which is kind of currently the look. So now it's kind of like they're white. But you can still see the shading from the texture, right? Or the height, the contours of the eyes and the face around it.
This. Oh yeah, I see it. Okay.
Looks a little better, I think, than just being like dark, unpainted eyes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let that dry. I might do like basically go with like a really tiny little dry brush, like take a kind of an old brush and cut it down, and I might have one, you know, and do a little bit of glow, kind of real subtle, carefully around. But we'll see. Okay. All right, I will finish his cloth later. Let's glam cam this guy. Unfortunately, I don't have any snow bases nearby to put him on.
Just break him off of this guy.
Break him off of that
I'm just kidding.
that Space Wolf. I should.
I don't know whose army that is.
Yeah, you know, I was thinking about it, but I'm not going to do it. It's on live TV. They could trace it back to me.
Fair. But, I mean, we got a room full of hobbyists. We can fix it. It's fine.
Yeah. I'll put him on a plain black base for now, just so he's something to stand up on. And I will put him on the glam cam. And we will see how he shows up on the glam cam. Let's do it. It's very tiny. Here we go. I'm going to move it. Folks at home, if you're sensitive to getting sick, look away. Here we go. Going to get a little closer. Going to zoom on my ice dwarf. Here we go.
I'm really glad you went with the blue.
Yeah, ice dwarf.
Yeah.
That's just what I do calling him. Actually, this is like a nice way to look at a model that you've painted and see what's up. There we go.
How do you feel about it?
I'd probably touch things up a little bit more. If this was like a whole unit of these guys, and I was trying to get, I would say that I frequently will paint up to about this level and base things. And so at this point, sorry, let me clarify. At this point, I don't need sub-assemblies anymore, right, for any of the work I'm going to do on this guy. So I can assemble the model, I can put it on a base, and then I can play.
Right.
And the model being on a base will add a lot also. Like bases do add a lot. I truly believe that. So once he's on like a snowy base, I don't know, I have to think about what else I'll put on the base. And I have, 850 points of this.
Yeah.
Then it's going to look, I'm going to be very happy with it. And then, like I did with my Beast Claw Raiders, every now and then I kind of bring them back in and I go, okay, I let me bring this up another layer. I put like war paint on them. Actually, I even have the colors here. Like they started off with war paint that was like these three colors, kind of built up, and then I was like, oh, it's not sticking out enough, so I added that, right?
Yeah.
Like in a separate session, like a few months later, to make the paint stick out a little bit more. So I'm happy with him, but I might add a little bit more to him. Yeah. Glam cam?
Yeah.
Oh, this is a good start, though, for the shield.
Yeah.
Oh, I love the mask. Okay. Oh, wait. We're going to turn around this way. Here we go. Okay. Ah. I like it. I like the feathers. Ooh, the mask, yeah. Bone is so fun to paint.
Yeah. I agree. No, and I like them. And you were completely right. This is a really great way of looking at a model.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. He's He's coming along. He's coming along. I would not say he's battle ready just yet. I do want to do a little bit more into this to the stone sword and stuff. I touched it a little bit. I was getting frustrated. This is a kind of a lesson of like, don't force it if it's not coming to you.
A good lesson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I touched it a bit, but it was also a thing of like, because his arms weren't attached to him, even when I was like airbrushing in his skin and stuff, his arms are two different colors than like the skin on his body. So it's going to take a little bit to work up and stuff. But the cool thing is that they have bands that go around their arms to like kind of hide where they attach and stuff. So I can just kind of use that a little bit more.
Can I ask how you're going to base this guy?
Yeah, you can ask that. And I would tell you.
Can you answer? Let's ask that. Can you answer how you're going to base this guy?
No, I've thought about it of like lush jungles and stuff because that's kind of essentially where they're supposed to be based.
Okay.
But they're also in the wastes as well too, which is like just a big giant desert.
But they can go anywhere, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there are like some stories of Wadroon who have broken away from the tribe with a capital T. And have kind of ventured out on their own. Like there's like pirate Wadroon and stuff like that. So like I can kind of do whatever. But in my mind, I kind of like them being more like desert jungle hybrid. So
I like that. Like what about, so like if you leaned into, since you've got kind of like a, with this shield, it's got kind of like I want to say, West African vibe, like a savanna kind of a look or something. And I bet those dinosaurs would look cool in a setting like that. But they'd look cool anywhere: jungle, desert. Yeah. This guy's wild. A whole army of these would be super cool to see.
Yeah, I like the Wadroon a lot. I know they're just orcs.
I mean, like this is a very like actually I've got to say like Games Workshop 2 has kind of upped their orc game recently. With like having orcs be a little more characterful than just, orcs are more than just orcs. And like I'm on record for being an orc hater on the networks here, but I'm not. I just don't.
You just don't like them.
I just haven't seen a lot of orc. No, I haven't seen like kind of the standard orc is cool, but I like seeing orcs. I think one of the first kind of takes on this was Warcraft 3, and they kind of made like back forever ago, and they made orcs like kind of like these more noble creatures that were like tribal and had like, a little more character than just like we're mean orcs that hate men and like killing men and dwarves and elves.
Yeah.
And I like seeing these developments of these fantasy races to be more than just good guys, bad guys.
Animalistic, yeah. And I think with Warcraft and stuff, I think they did a lot of really good work with like the lore and the books and stuff of that world with making the Horde not the evil kinds and stuff. And I like that a lot. They do that really well with Gundam as well too. Of like, there's no good and bad. Every side is equally evil and equally good.
That's fun. I will say that Joaquin, here come the hot takes. As we wrap up here, I'll end things on a hot take here. I'll say that I will say that's often what you're describing there is what sort of kept me away from like being really into Star Wars. I'm not always so into like light side, dark side. It's sort of like cool, I don't know. It's like I know who to root for all the time, I guess.
Okay.
So I think Star Wars is cool. There's a lot of cool components to it, but that kind of element of like, oh, here's some orcs and they're like more than just angry
dudes
that want to punch your face in because you're not an orc, right?
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, and to kind of answer some of the questions of that, they do have civilizations. They're not evil. They are a race created for war that have just been kind of left to do their own thing because the Spire abandoned them and used them as fodder to make their escape and stuff.
Well, these people are asking this question, but they're also harassing me.
Oh,
with
okay.
love.
Okay.
Of course I know. Because I famously said a few months back that orcs in 40K don't have civilization. But this was also taken to mean, even yesterday I was being raked over the coals for this. No, culture, which is different than civilization, folks. I never said they didn't have culture. But these guys have like full cities and civilizations?
So they're a nomadic tribe. So they can't really stay in one place too long. They either roam the desert or they go to the jungle oasis, but it's very dangerous for them to stay there. And the other thing is that they're essentially living machines, and so the amount of food that it takes to sustain them, they can't stay in one place for too long, or else they would just completely annihilate and devastate a whole entire ecosystem, and so they have to move. Yeah.
Kat, this was fun. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I probably would not have painted a Conquest model anytime soon. I'm so glad I did. Look, I'm excited. I don't know if I can fit it in the first half of this year, but I think I can fit it in the second half of this year. I'll have to take a look at how many models I need to even get started in First Blood. And, you know, this guy did not take long. Now when I'm painting armies, I'm kind of doing, you and I are talking about ways we want to improve this year. I kind of approach it now with two looks. I'm saying, like, do I just do what I can do to get an army out there? Or do I want to, like, kind of level myself up a little bit in that process? And I could just do what I do to get these guys out there, pick up like one or two new techniques in the process, but not necessarily try to, like, get the whole thing up a level beyond where I'm at. And sure, I could turn an army out of this in maybe a month or so. In that case, if I just kind of do what I've been doing. And there's a certain comfort to that, right? Like, I think.
Yeah, and the thing that I really like about, like, with you saying, like, you know, trying to figure out how many models you'd need in order to build like a pretty okay First Blood army, is that Bellum actually has an easy, free to use list builder on their website, and so you can just pick this. I'm building an army for First Blood. I'm going to use Dwegholm, and then they literally walk you through. Okay, pick your warlord, and then
kind of like tell how each one works. Makes the army a little different. That's cool.
Pick your mainstays, and it's very like the regimens that you can and can't bring with each character is very lore based as well too. And so like the Predator for the Wadroon. He can bring a lot of the dinosaurs and stuff. Okay,
so there's a specific guy that.
And then the Matriarch Queen, she can bring, I think she and the Scion of Conquest are really the only ones that can bring the Chosen of Conquest. Okay. And so those are like the big elite units. Oh, I see. Okay. And so it's very lore based, which I like a lot. But it makes building an army really easy. You pick your characters, you pick their regiments that they can bring, and then you upgrade and change your characters, and that's it. There's no customization with your regimen for the most part. Okay. So it makes things really easy. Yeah. And simple.
That's cool. The list building thing's cool. I think Star Wars Legion also has something like this, which is super fun. Okay, next week on Hobby Titans. Well, a couple things. First, Kat and I have been working on some VOD projects. You'll be seeing those coming out fairly soon. And we're excited about those. Yeah. We're going to leave that at that. You'll see them soon. Next week on Hobby Titans, Adrian will be here joining me. And him and I are going to be doing something sort of wacky, which is we are going to have the boxes that Games Workshop releases where it's like 2 or 3 models in there, a brush, and like 6 paints.
Oh, the Learn to Paint boxes.
Learn to Paint boxes. Okay. We're doing the Sigmar ones. Adrian will be doing the Gut Rippas, and I will be doing the Stormcast. So we will, in advance, assemble and prime the model. Okay. But that's it. Other than that, we're going to sit down. We're going to take that one brush.
Oh, no.
One brush, water, paper, just no special equipment, not even a wet palette.
Straight from the pot.
Straight from the pot.
Interesting.
Now, actually, what we are going to do is maybe bring like a piece of plastic that you could have at home, like maybe get from like a steak or like some chicken or something from the grocery store, and like a paper towel, like something to kind of work off of. But we're talking very, very original. Like, what would you do for an 8-year-old who says, "Hey, I want to paint some minis," right? You're not going to go out and get a wet palette. You're not going to do this stuff. So That's the
Yeah,
plan.
I'd probably give him some Tupperware and not
not
something
like
that's
no,
touched
not like raw
meat.
chicken. We're not gonna do that, Kat. Jeez.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, Tupperware something. But we're not even gonna make like you can make like a homemade wet palette. We're not even gonna do that. Like you wouldn't do that, right? Like this is just like get started,
Base
hop in.
knowledge. I got this box for Christmas, and I'm gonna get
that's
to
it.
it. Yeah. Okay, that sounds fun.
And yeah, it sounds really fun. Like I'm really excited. So that's what Adrian and I are doing next week. I hope he remembers that he's doing that. And we want to, maybe after LVO, we think we're going to try to get this one on for maybe the 40K one. You have to think if you like Necrons or Space Marines better.
Space Marines.
Okay.
Yeah.
You think you could just open the box and paint some Space Marines? Just brush? Water? No transparator?
See, the thing, I
No.
like challenging myself.
Yeah. This is...
And Necrons would be the easier thing to do.
I think so.
So I'm going to pick Space Marines.
We'll give that one to maybe Adrian again. Let him. He's gonna. Orcs are gonna be tough. He's gonna have to do the orcs just with a brush. Yeah. Okay. So we have a lot of exciting stuff coming up. Be on the lookout. Like I said, some VODs dropping in the next couple weeks here. Totally wacky episode stream next week. Hope you guys can join us for that. Kat, anything else?
I mean, well, speaking of LVO.
Oh, right. Let's chat LVO a little bit. Yeah.
If any of you are going, definitely say hi to all of us.
Yeah.
I'll be running around. Hopefully not too much, but I'll be there in the painting lounge for the most part, or either that or in one of the classrooms.
Okay.
But yeah, that's where I'll be hanging out.
I will be, Brett and I, as you guys know, we've mentioned, will be at the 40K narrative area. I think the rest of the guys are doing 40K competitive, so you'll see them there. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Be exciting.
Super exciting. Awesome. Anything else?
No?
Guys, as we like to say around here, be kind to yourself, be kind to each other, and always be creating. We'll see you guys next week.